How's it going, everybody? My name's Eric Martinez, your host and founder of the Sporting Crashers podcast. Appreciate everybody's patience with us. This is episode 3, rolling out the big carpet. Everybody that's been asking, we are the go-to feel-good comedy, sports, entertainment podcast that's available and out there on our platforms. We have a special guest coming up with this particular podcast, episode 3. Definitely appreciate everybody that's been patient with us. On our lineup is Jennifer Cobb, Team Gateway to a Cure. Absolutely loved our conversation with her. Stay tuned for that. McKayla, she's actually a Texas Rangers 6-shooter, so thank you so much for being on our show, especially during the Texas Rangers baseball season. That go-to guy, Ife Ekpenuma, representing Columbia, South Carolina, University of South Carolina Gamecocks, stand up. Definitely looking forward to speaking with him. And we actually have none other than the number one trainer in the world, Mr. Travelle Gaines. Appreciate him being on the show, Athletic Gains. We're going to start off with the Meatloaf section. And everybody's been kind of asking me, what is this? Where did you get this concept? What are you doing with this one? So the Meatloaf is coming from a comedy show, comedy movie that everybody knows about. Can't necessarily say it, but if you do know the Sporting Crashers, it's relative to a comedy movie. And in this particular segment, we're talking about reviews of food. And in the movie, it came out where he says, the Meatloaf. What's she doing back there? You never know what she's doing back there. I want to give a special shout out to all of our sponsors for the Sporting Crashers podcast, especially Book Clothing, Jerry Dupree, representing Los Kobe's. You already know what it is. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Mamba. Favorite player, Los Angeles Laker till we die. Also, I want to give a shout out to the entire Giant Elephant team out in the Bay Area. You know what it is, representing Pittsburgh, California, Bay Area, East Bay 925. Appreciate you rocking with me, everybody. Let's kick off the segment, the Meatloaf. So this is a food and dessert review of anything that has to do with stadiums, arenas across the world. Episode 3, Sporting Crashers podcast. We're actually going to be reviewing the summer ballparks, where to stay cool, what to eat, desserts, and everything like that. So if you haven't heard our podcast before, episode 2, we actually did a review of food. In this particular one, since it is the summertime, we're going to give you a little bit of advice if you do go to the ballparks, somewhere to go and cool off, and then, of course, getting some type of dessert. So we're starting it off with number 5. It's a top 5 countdown. Number 5 is going to be called the Elvis Shack. Anybody that has been there to Coors Field in Colorado, home of the Rockies, please let me know how it is. It's actually at the Hilton Burger Shack. So it's known as the Elvis Shake, and it's described as a creme de banana, soft serve ice cream, peanut butter sauce, Cracker Jack, and candied bacon. And I don't know about you guys, but anytime that you include bacon in anything, I'm all about it, right? So you got a candied bacon, and then what's more traditional than being at the ballpark, especially baseball, than Cracker Jack? So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get a review of the Elvis Shake. Definitely looking forward to that. Coors Field, Colorado, home of the Rockies. The Meatloaf. Never know what she's doing back there. All right. Number 4, we're going to go on to the mini funnel bites. And this one you can find at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. Definitely home of the St. Louis Cardinals. I know that they introduced a lot of items to their menu in the 2022 season. So this one right now, they're describing it as the small donuts that are smothered in icing and chocolate. And then, of course, they top it with sprinkles designed to, taste like mini funnel cakes. I remember a long time ago, I'm from the Bay Area, so we used to go to Great America in Santa Clara, and we would always get a funnel cake. So we would either top it off with strawberry, chocolate, and powdered sugar. So something like this is right up my alley. Give me those mini donuts that are topped off just like funnel cakes. Hey, I'm eating the whole thing. I'm ordering one for each family member that loves funnel cakes. So number 4, mini funnel bites from Busch Stadium, home of the Cardinals. The Meatloaf. We want it now. Number 3, we're going to move on to Chase Field in Phoenix, home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have this new item called the Churro Dog. And it's described as a Long John donut that's actually filled with an Oreo churro. And it's topped with a vanilla yogurt. So it also comes with different strawberries if you want strawberry sauce, whipped cream, chocolate sauce, Oreo cookie crumbles. I mean, you know, I love anything that has Oreos. Not so much of a fan to combine it with strawberry, but with this, if it's kind of all together, I saw pictures of it. Hopefully, our Arizona listeners, if you can tap in, let me know how it is. But definitely interested in knowing this, especially if you have an Oreo churro with Oreo crumble and vanilla yogurt. I mean, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So let me know. Chase Field, home of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Churro Dog, number 3. The Meatloaf. Number 2, we got the ice cream push pops in Nationals Park. And I know those that listened to episode 2, we did a review and we actually had an item from Nationals Park before, home of the Washington, D.C. Nationals. We just call them DC Nationals, whatever you want to do. The ice cream push pops are actually new items. So they got the 2 ice cream push pops in black and white cookie, or you can get it in bourbon and cinnamon babka. And definitely looking forward to that one. That one's probably on my item that I would just grab right away and, you know, eat it literally right before I go back to my seat in Washington, D.C. So anybody that's in D.C. listening, our national fans and listeners, please let me know how they are. Definitely interested. Hopefully a lot of ballparks across the country start selling those, as opposed to all of the sloppiness when it comes to ice cream. Something like that, little push pop ice cream, it goes a long way. Number 2, ice cream push pops from National Parks, home of the Washington Nationals. The Meatloaf. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get the big countdown going. Number 1, right? The Meatloaf segment, top 5 for episode number 3. We got number 1, the one and only, the churro poutine. Now, this is described as a churro with vanilla ice cream, caramel sauce. Real simple. You can find it at Rogers Center in Toronto. It's in Canada, for those that don't know. But anyway, that's actually going to be the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, which, in my opinion, potential World Series contenders from the American League. We'll see. Red Sox fans, Yankees fans, don't hold me accountable. White Sox fans, hey, just making a statement. Anyway, but for me, they get the top dessert because it's simple. Give me a churro. Give me a vanilla ice cream. Give me some caramel sauce. Simple, right? But it's the most flavorful. It's sweet, and it's something that I would go back for. So, number 1, churro poutine, Rogers Center, Toronto Blue Jays. You get the number 1 spot on the Sporting Crashers podcast as the top dessert to go to 2022 summer. The Meatloaf. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks for holding. I am having an absolute pleasure moment to bring in the fellow Crasher, founder, executive director of Team Gateway to a Cure, Jennifer Cobb. Thank you so much for being on the show, episode 3 of the Sporting Crashers podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. 3 is my favorite number.
Oh, nice. Okay. Good number. Good number.
I'm just
Exactly.
feeling lucky tonight. Yeah, that's great. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about so many great things. I know you and I have gone back and forth trying to schedule this. I think originally we were scheduled for our episode right when the NFL draft was going on. So I'm like, darn it.
No, exactly.
They're getting picked before me.
Yeah,
Darn it.
it's one of those things, with scheduling. I know how busy you are, and I'm glad I got you on the show. And it's funny that you say 3 is your lucky number. Everybody gives me stuff all the time because I'm always like, 13 is my lucky number. I was born August 13th at 3:13. So
Oh,
that's my number, and everyone's like, oh, that's an unlucky number. I'm like, no, 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 that's
my
definitely
s-
my
my
lucky
son's
number.
my son's birthday is August 20th.
Okay,
So yeah.
fellow Leo.
Yeah, Leo.
Exactly.
That's great.
Awesome.
I love your hat. What's it
So this
say?
is shout out my clothing sponsor, Book Clothing Co. It says Los Kobe, so it's 8 and 24. And then on this side is
Love
the
it.
biggest mistake we have in life is that we think we have time. And this is the logo. So it's a
Oh,
dedication hat
nice.
for Kobe Bryant, my favorite
Nice.
player of all time.
Love.
So
Yep. Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. So, for some of
Yeah.
our listeners that might not know necessarily of what Team Gateway to a Cure is, as far as the organization, the purpose, everything that you got going on in the community, please give us a little introduction, so that way we can know a little bit more about the cause and everything great that you're doing.
Yeah, and I can't thank you enough for allowing your platform to use my voice to showcase some of the things that I have been working on over the last 5 years. Team Gateway to a Cure, I started it in 2016. And along with me and my board of directors, we had a common cause, a common um, drive in each one of our hearts to make a difference. And my platform is coming off the NFL field as a alumni Super Bowl Rams cheerleader.
That's right.
Yay! Back in the day when we were the greatest show on turf,
Oh yeah.
Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, Ernie Conwell, and Marshall Falk, and Kurt Warner. He's got his movie just came out, which is I don't know if you've seen it, but Kurt Warner's movie just came out about a
Yes.
month ago. Yeah, it
Great movie.
is amazing. Yeah, great movie. And yeah, Dick Vermeil. So yeah, I was part of that group, and it was kind of something as I retired and came off the field. I wanted to use my platform to really make a difference. I know a lot of the NFL players start charities and different organizations, and you don't hear very often the NFL cheerleaders doing that. And so I'm one of very few. And my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Hmm.
Right around the same time, Michael J. Fox went public with his disease. And so, Team Gateway to a Cure, what we do is we focus not just on the research part of it, raising funds and educating people on what the up and coming therapies and research for Parkinson's and other brain diseases such as MS, ALS, Lewy bodies, dementia, Alzheimer's, concussion, brain cancers, tumors, but the other side of the disease, and that's the caregiver,
Right.
and that's where Muhammad Ali, um, their legacy foundation, their program came in to our foundation as we collaborate together to really focus on the caregiver, the one that's behind the scenes, that is caring for their loved one that's battling one of these diseases. And I had such an honor a number of years ago to meet Lani Ali,
Hmm.
Mohammed's widow,
Right.
and she was so inspiring to really talk to me in detail what Mohammed's legacy stood for. As we all know, that he battled with Parkinson's,
Right.
the greatest fighter in the ring. Um,
That's exactly
and
right.
if it wasn't for Mohammed's doctors and his loved ones and his family and friends, a perfect example, he would never have been able to light the torch at the Olympics if it wasn't for his caregiver
Caregivers.
group, his team, to give him hope and comfort so he could be the best while he battled the disease. And so, Team Gateway to a Cure, what we do is we really, really educate and focus on the caregiver, the one behind the scenes in the home, and in the home that is surrounded by their loved one, that, at the end of their day, as a caregiver, where do they go for their support? They oftentimes have anxiety and have bouts of depression, and they hit a wall, and they don't have much support, financially, physically, emotionally. And so when they tuck their loved one in bed, and they're done with giving them a bath and changing their bed sheets and feeding them and giving them the medicine and taking them to and from doctor appointments and making sure they're all comfortable in the home, who's taking care of them at the end of their day?
That's right.
And so what we do is we educate them. We have resources to help them know where to go for financial support, emotional support, physical support, educational support. And so we're a resource based charity. Now, not to say that, research and raising funds for the Fox Foundation absolutely is so important for any disease.
Right.
But until we have a cure, we have a caregiver behind the scenes. And so that's really what our focus is on. Uh, as Team Gateway to a Cure, our 501c3, we focus our efforts on the
Well, I love it.
caregiver.
I love it. Ever since you told me a few years ago, if everybody knows, we've been in contact for several years. So, like I said, it's my honor, it's my pleasure to have you on my show, and anything that we can do. And I know, stay tuned,
Aw.
listeners. I know something's coming soon. I'm not going to release it right now, but we do have some plans coming up for some charitable events, and just anything that you can do to support this. Again, definitely appreciate you sharing with that. And honestly, that's a major thing. So let me kind of, yeah, absolutely. Let me
Thank
let
you
me
so
transition a
much.
little bit here, because we'll get back to the Team Gateway to a Cure in a moment here. But you just told me, former NFL cheerleader, that experience, St. Louis Rams. I want to know two things. I want to know, first, what was the fondest memory that you had being an NFL cheerleader? And then also, how did that actually help you? Some people, when it comes to those networks and those connections that you meet, individuals, not only the players, but everybody that's associated with a professional sports team or professional sports league. They make those. They call them. What do they call them? The sisterhood or the brotherhood that you make those connections for life.
Yeah, that is such a great question. I forever will be an ambassador of the NFL, and the family unit, no matter what team you're on, what team you're playing for, rooting for, whatever, the whole NFL family has been nothing but supportive with my efforts with Team Gateway to a Cure. If it wasn't for the village behind the scenes, I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at today. Um, I think the fondest memory for me is all of the amazing friendships that I have made over the last number of years. Um, I will go to charity events and different functions, and it's just like a quiet thing. You don't even need to even speak a word, and you see an NFL player, alumni, a cheerleader, a coach, um, an employee of some sort, and
Hmm.
it's just like a
Right.
natural bond. Like we get each other's language, and we understand. We were all groomed from the very get go, and what I mean by that is they take the selection process as serious for a player, just as serious as they select a coach, a cheerleader, somebody that's working for the organization. And the reason they take the selection process so serious is because when you walk away and step off the field,
Right.
you will forever
That makes
represent
sense.
that business, that brand. And so they take the selection process. Let's say for a player, you can be one of the best
Hmm.
quarterbacks like Tom Brady in the business, but it takes more than just a
Hmm.
great arm. You've got to be a leader on the field. You've got to be a man off the field. You've got to represent as a family man, a leadership role. You got to be the
That's
person
right.
that walks the walk and talks the talk, because it's more than just a fast 40-yard dash and you can catch a bunch of footballs. But if you don't know how to maintain respect and hold yourself accountable and be coachable and listen to direction and be also a leader, um, they're not going to take the time, um, or spend the money on you, because they want a well-rounded person that's going to represent their brand. So when I speak on behalf of the selection
Sure.
process, in terms of the cheerleaders, it's a couple of months uh,
Sure.
long process. You don't just try out. For instance, when I tried out for the team, um, I walked into Mrs. Frontieri actually
Hmm.
um,
That's right.
brought the team from LA to St. Louis. Um, and when I heard the announcement on the radio that she was holding open auditions, I thought, I had a
Sure.
lot of background in cheerleading through college and high school and gymnastics, but NFL cheerleading is more of a dance. They're there to entertain the crowd. It's not
Hmm.
acrobatic like what I'm used to, stunting and that stuff sort of thing. So when I walked into this crowd of beautiful women, thousands of girls trying out for 40 spots, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, there's just no way. I'm just this little peanut that has very little dance experience. But you know what? I'm going to go in, and if I make a friend, good for me, and I'm going to have a blast. And that's exactly what I did. And I went in, and I actually I found some really really good girls that are very skilled in dance, and I
There you go.
kind of like made friends with them and kind of migrated toward them and just followed what they did and asked them to, give me a lot of feedback and critique me and help me because I had that weakness. I had a lot of other strengths that maybe they didn't, but the weakness for me was my dancing. And so, with that being said, if you can coach me, I'm coachable. I will learn and I will do until in order to secure my spot. Well, over the next couple of hours, they kind of weed out the weakest, and I ended up making it to the final round. And that final round brought the
Wow.
selection of girls to about 75. And those 75 girls, you had to show up for practice for about a month. And you show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays and you practice, you learn the routine. They watch how you interact with the other girls. They also put you out in the public to see how you interact with public, how you speak, how you hold yourself. And then they put you in summer camp, just like the players, and they exhaust you. I mean, call time is 6 a.m. in full makeup and hair, ready to go because the cameras are there, video, TV, whatever. You've got to be promo ready. And then they push you hard for 4 or 5 hours. You get a lunch break, and then another 4 or 5 hours of constant routines and training and drills and technical work,
Wow.
and you do that for a whole week, and they push you to absolute exhaustion to see how you can stand the pressure. Um, and then they do a full board interview, business attire, and really dive into the kind of person you are, what kind of things you're interested in, what are some of your passions, what are you desires in your life, what do you really um, uh, what do you your heart strong, what are some of the things that you're really um, faithful about? What the things like in terms of the community? What kind of things do you like to get involved in? And so after about a month, they make the
Wow.
announcement, and I
Okay.
was one of the
Well, I
top
love the
40.
process. I love the process.
So every year, yeah, yeah. And just because you're so my first year you're a rookie, of
Of
course the
course.
veterans kind of
All right.
push you around, which is great, it's all right. But then the next year you got to try out again, just
There's
like
no
the
spot
players.
secured,
You're
right?
not secured
Mm-hmm.
a
Earn your
spot on
spot.
the team. No, no, and
Mm-hmm.
there's always someone hungrier behind you, chasing you down, wanting that spot. And so you have to go through the whole process again. And I think that's a really, really good thing because it keeps you current. It keeps your technique on point. It keeps you hungry in the game. It allows you to really take a look at yourself and say, okay, what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What do I really need to really focus on? And then you look at your people who you have in your circle and say, all right, I need you to watch while I'm doing this routine, what are some of the things that I need to work on? And in terms of
Mm-hmm.
speaking, what are some of the things that I need to work on when I'm engaging in the public eye? So, yeah. So, and I think that, Eric, was probably the fondest memories. Summer camps, and every player. If you interview every player, will say the exact same thing that I'm going to tell you right now. And when I go to events and I go to reunions and I see players, I see coaches, I see other cheerleaders, they all say the exact same thing. One of the most amazing
Locker room.
memories they
Mm-hmm.
all have is locker room. The
No, of
locker
course,
room.
right.
I'm not saying that the plays on the field and winning games and catching football and cheering for the crowd when everyone's excited.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, that's an adrenaline rush you'll never ever feel again. But when you go back to the locker room, oh my goodness,
Right.
there are so many practical jokes and fun and just goofiness and just laughter and just some of the greatest. I mean, it's like the dudes
Yeah.
are dude talking in
Exactly.
the locker room, the girls are girl talking in the locker room, and we're playing practical jokes and just being silly and taking pictures and videos, and it's just that to me was probably one of the best memories when I was with the Rams. And from all of that, moving forward in my life, I would have
Mm-hmm.
to say the networking of people. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, Jen, you didn't get paid much." No, we didn't. We didn't get paid like the players. Absolutely not. But you don't do it because of a
Mm-hmm.
paycheck. I did it because it opened a lot of doors, and I used that to better my life. I have some of the most amazing mentors that I reach out to even today, from the last 20 some years, that have my back when I'm in trouble. If I need help, if I need a door opened, if I need a favor, if I need somebody, a mentor to look at something that I might be going through and say, hey, what am I missing? What do I need? Um, what do I need to look at while I'm going through this thing that I'm going through in life? And I think
Absolutely.
that is priceless. Um, but, so yeah, it would have been nice to make the money like the players, but I know that along the way through this journey, what I'm doing now with all of my networking
Sure.
today, and we can talk a lot
Mm-hmm.
about that. I've got a children's book
I
that
was
I'm
about to ask you about
doing. It's just
that.
about finished. I'm working on a Yep, I'm working on a
That's
documentary
right.
movie with Tom Brady,
That's
Drew
right.
Brees, and Nolan Ryan, and Tom House, who's the quarterback and Major League
Oh,
Baseball
nice.
pitcher coach. Tom House. He's the one that trains and
Mm-hmm.
coaches all the quarterbacks in the NFL. He's, Tom Brady's right hand man. And now Mac Jones, who's
That's
the
what they
the
say.
goat of the Patriots right
Right.
now. He's the new Brady. Yeah, he's also in the movie. And the movie is a documentary about Tom House's life
Parkinson.
and
Mm-hmm.
who has now battling Parkinson's. And so that's the connection with me and the movie. And the movie really, really focuses. Half of the movie really focuses um, and showcases how incredibly important a caregiver is. And we can talk a lot about that too later. But to answer your question, those are the two, the locker room and the networking and the people, are probably one of the greatest memories. And then all of the friendships that I've had along the way are just they're just priceless. Hey, I wouldn't have met you if I wouldn't have, you know.
You're right. Exactly. I was about to say the networking side of it. I think you touched on a lot of great things. I want to focus on one in specific that you really said, and I think a lot of young athletes coming out of high school before the college experience and the possibility of possibly going professional at whatever sport. I think they don't understand that sports is very similar when it comes to creating and operating a business, an entrepreneur. So, for
Yes.
instance, in your case, like you said about when you're talking about not being paid as much, it's one of those things that got to plant that seed. those seeds that you planted, that you tended to, you're harvesting with your endeavors, things that you're doing. And I think a lot of times people forget about that step where you have to sacrifice and you have to plant the seed. And if you don't really tend to it, whether you're building relationships or you're just, pretty much, holding back and saying, well, I can do it on my own. Well, it's, in reality, look at team sports. It's very hard to do anything on your own on the field and especially off the field. So I think that's great sharing that. And I really appreciate that. And I want to know a lot more about that movie. I'm very interested. I know that you had mentioned that to me before, so we'll get back to that. But you did mention about your books, and I'm very interested in the ones that you have in development and published, because I also mentioned that I'm very much into, reading projects for, people that I have on my show, fellow crashers, as I call them.
Yeah, and to go back to the point you just made about
Hmm.
younger athletes, a really important lesson or thought that kind of comes to my mind that I would love to share with your listeners is we
Sure.
live in an instant gratifying world. Everything is now, now,
That's
now,
right.
now. Whether it's a diet, whether it's a post on Instagram, how many likes, you know, um,
Hmm.
Facebook. I post something. Did everybody like it? Did everybody like it? Selfies. How many people like me? And it's interesting because instant gratification isn't what makes you good, makes you amazing. It takes time. And you would be fooling yourself if you thought just because you have a little talent or a lot of talent that that is what is going to be the thing that is going to push you into 20 years from now. Tom Brady doesn't win 7 Super Bowls because he's talented. He won 7 Super Bowls because he listened to the masters. He's coachable. He followed the formula and he did what he needed to do consistently over time. And he surrounded himself around the people that knew how to get him to that big place. Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner, and even in basketball, I mean, Kobe. Yes, I'm not taking anything away from the talent. I didn't have much talent as a dancer. I was coachable, but I also listened to the people that told me what I needed to do in order to make the marathon of this journey. And if you look at it in that perspective, you build and build and build. It's like one brick at a time and you're building a wall. I had the really great honor to meet Mac Jones's mom, Holly, at the National Quarterback Club Legacy Award ceremony a few weeks ago back in Scottsdale, Arizona. They gave the Legacy Award to Tom House, and Mac Jones was given a award for Rookie of the Year. And so you have Tom House, who's coached Tom Brady, who's won 7 Super Bowls, and now is coaching t- Mac Jones, who's the up and coming number 1 quarterback in the NFL, who's amazingly talented. I was um, friends with Mac and introduced Mac and Tom together, Tom House, and I was able to get to know his mom, Holly. And it's interesting that it's a business. It's everything that they are around, from the philanthropic charities they're involved in, the things that Mac's endorsing, the things, the people that he's around, the training, the nutrition, the sleep, the things that Tom House is teaching him. Tom is actually working a little bit with my son, Zach, who's actually ranked first in the state of Illinois as a freshman for cross country and track. He's breaking records. Yeah, thanks. And it's Tom is House is an amazing man when it comes to the physiology and the biomechanics and the science behind it, because the science speaks the data and the data is what drives the behavior. And if you follow the science, the behavior will be perfection. Why do you think Tom Brady doesn't have injuries? My son has been working with Tom now for a couple of months. My son has never had an injury. There's it also goes to show Drew Brees. Drew Brees worked with Tom House. Drew Brees had a terrible injury and he rehabbed, followed his advice, Tom House's advice to a T. Months later, he's back on the field breaking records. So what I'm saying is you've got to trust the science. You've got to trust your people that you have around you, and you've got to be patient and allow yourself to go through the process, because when you come on the other end, how much better are you going to enjoy the process? If it was instant gratifying, it's like you wouldn't have been able to enjoy all the hard sweat and tears that went along the way. I'm not saying it was all rainbows and sunshine and laughter all of these years when you're training hard as an NFL player, or yeah, of course it's going to be painful. Yeah, there's going to be some injuries, or you're going to get hurt, or you're going to have
Exactly.
days where you're just going to feel really down and just everything's going horrible for
Exactly. And
you.
I always
But
say
if you pick yourself up
hard
and you
work
surround
beats
yourself with your
talent
good
when talent
people
won't
and
work
you
hard.
follow the formula.
And honestly, it's all about delayed gratification. So, that's something that is essential. Absolutely. Uh, so, so yeah. Tell us a little bit about your books. I'm very interested in knowing a little bit about the books that you got going on.
Christina comes home and talks to her mom, and she says, "Mom, I've noticed that Dad hasn't been behaving, acting this like he used to. Something's wrong. Something's off. I'm not sure what's going on." And so the mom sits her down and says that your dad has Parkinson's. And because of that generation, she's in middle school. She went back to her room at her desk and started Googling and researching what Parkinson's is. And so I think through the imagination of a child's through the imagination of a child's eyes, how important it is that even though you are younger, you can still give hope and comfort and love to anyone that's battling something. It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to be a great caregiver. And so the book Cheer for Care, she comes up with all kinds of great ways to cheer dad on. So one of the things in Parkinson's, um, your voice doesn't project as well. You have shuffling in your step, your gait. Your handwriting is real small. You have tremors. Your hands, your extremities start to shake.
Hmm.
And you have dyskinesia, which is twitching in your head, in your shoulders, from the medication that you're taking. And so Christina comes up with some really, really creative ways to help dad while he's going through those symptoms of Parkinson's. And what you find is that dad actually, his behavior changes. He becomes a lot more jovial, he becomes a lot more enthusiastic, he's not as down and sad and depressed. And so it's really interesting, Eric, that the younger generation really, really, really want to be philanthropic.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just don't know how. They're very kind, big hearted, and they want to give, but they sometimes often feel like it has to be expensive or it has to cost a lot. Thank goodness for technology, or you and I wouldn't be on the phone right now
Sure.
talking. But
Right.
if you don't live close to a loved one and your dad or grandparent is going through something, you can FaceTime them, give them a
Hmm.
phone call, send them an email, Snapchat them.
Hmm.
They've got these frames out, video frames and photo frames that you can send pictures from your phone
That's
directly to the frame.
directly
And
to it.
just those little images and just those little moments bring so much joy. I mean, we can even, it's called Uber Eats. You can send a meal over to them if you can't be in front of them or cook for
Hmm.
them, and you live in a different state. So there's lots of really, really creative ways that you can give love and hope and comfort to your loved one when they're battling. You don't necessarily have to be a live-in caregiver. And if you are, for instance, my mom is, reach out to other family and friends to come in and give you some respite. Because of COVID, I think so many people want to keep their loved ones at home. They don't want to put him in a nursing home or a facility, which absolutely the facilities are great if that's what you need to do and that's the dynamic of your family. But if you have the option to stay home, I think people really need to understand that you can actually get paid. There's paid leave. If you work, there's maternity leave, where there's caregiver leave. So you
Hmm.
ask your employer, I need to spend some time with my parent or my grandparent or a loved one at home for 6 or 9 or 12 weeks. You actually can get paid to stay home with your loved one, um, and without sacrificing your job. There's also the Family National Caregiver Act. There's 3 or $650 billion in this act that the
Hmm.
government has set aside through Medicare and Medicaid, and they give it in grant funds, um, the funds that come to the state, and they allocate it to education or schools or different programs. Well, there's a caregiver programs. And so, what you need to do if you're in this position and you want to get paid or you want to help subsidize because you don't have the money to put your loved one in a home, you can actually get an advocate. So, kind of same thing as somebody who goes on welfare or needs support with children or food stamps. You go to the office, the government office, and they assign you an advocate. And that advocate actually sets you up to bring funding to you to stay in the home so that your loved one has the confines of their home. They can see the pictures of their loved ones. They can hear their loved ones' voices. They can smell the foods of the home. They can come and go as they please. There's no limitations as you would have in a nursing home. And so because of the COVID situation and all of us going through quarantine, I think we have had a little taste of what a caregiver's life is like. It's very
Hmm.
lonely. People are
Hmm.
not coming over and bringing food and seeing how you're doing. And so this gives you the option if you have a loved one and you are in that situation and you do work, but you have the option to stay with them full time, you can get compensated financially for it.
Perfect.
And those are the things that our foundation, Team Gateway to a Cure, you can go on our website, teamgatewaytoacure.org, and we walk you through the steps. You can shoot us an email, and we can help facilitate and put you in the right direction to help you through this process. Because a lot of people don't know, and you know why? Because the baby boomers are now going through the process of
Hmm.
the aging, the symptoms, the diseases. They're starting to be diagnosed with those things, and so the mentality of the other loved one is, I want to be God Junior. I want to save the day. I want to do it all. Everybody
Right.
else stay away because I can do this. Actually, you can't, and it's kind of arrogant and egotistical. And I say that in a kind way for you
Sure.
to think that you can do everything because now you're sacrificing your own happiness just to say that you can do it all when
Hmm.
you're actually denying other family members from letting them come in and love their loved ones too. So it's really a great way when you look at it in that perspective to allow the other family members and friends to come in and maybe cook a meal or maybe watch your loved one while you go and do some errands or get out of the house and take care of some things or maybe even take a nap, or
Right.
go out with a girlfriend and do girl talk or dude talk with you're a guy. And so it's really important because you want to remember who you are too, so that you can be the best version of you when you're home caring for your loved one, if that makes sense.
And I absolutely, I think it's really important, especially after reading a lot of the literature that you sent me for the organization and the cause, and really what motivates, what the purpose is of where you're going in terms of the direction. I think it's important, and it's pretty much like a three-part question. But one thing I'm interested in knowing is, let's just say my listeners that can help facilitate anything that they can do as far as helping with which is really big, the resources for the caregivers. What can be done. I do see that there's a volunteer section on the website. I wanted to touch on that. And then also end of the year, early 2023, anything that you have, that you would like to say as far as any type of events, any type of information that individuals can really, support and fully be
Yeah, that's a
behind the
great, thank you
organization.
so much for bringing that up. We are actually, the film House of Arms, which is the documentary about Tom House, who for years have created some of the greatest athletes, Hall of Fame athletes of all time, in the NFL and baseball. And what he did to bring them to that level, to become the greatest athlete of their time, he's now using the same to battle the greatest disease of his life. And so he's using the same concepts to for survival. And
Mm,
so what the movie talks about is it goes through all of the new and upcoming treatment and therapies that are out there that people need to understand, not just for Parkinson's, but all different brain diseases and diseases at large. But and then this other side of it is how important a caregiver is. When Tom is traveling, Tom House is traveling the country, doing clinics for the younger generation athletes. He has a traveling caregivers, the coaches that he has travel with him, how important they are while he's traveling, as well as his wife, when Marie House, his wife, when she's home with Tom, how she goes through the day-to-day activities to make sure that Tom is the best that he needs to be. And so when the movie The House of Arms is released this fall, the trailer is just about finished. We're going to have a world premiere in Boston at the
oh,
Boston Film Festival.
awesome.
And I would love for volunteers to come out and be a part of this world premiere movie. We're also, every year, when you check the website, at the National Quarterback Club is going to host a dinner event. Um, Oops, sorry, I left my ear. A
Go ahead.
dinner event to recognize caregivers and Parkinson's and raise money for Team Gateway to a Cure so we can give money to people who are in financial hardships that want to stay home and care for their loved one. We would love to have volunteers there. And, of course, Tom Brady and Drew Brees and a lot of these, really names of famous names of athletes will be there in the crowd, and you'll be able to meet them. But we would love for people to be, there to help volunteer. So we have a lot of things that are happening throughout the year, toward the end of this year, but also of next year. And
Hmm.
then also, when my book is released, my goal for next year is to do book signings in different libraries and different schools all throughout the
Hmm.
country. And I would love to have volunteers helping me when I announce my dates and where I'm going to be, to have
Sure.
those volunteers help me, at those book signings, and that would be great too. So,
Sure.
and that would be great. And sometimes if you are a college student and you're looking for credit hours for community service, because as a cheerleader, an NFL cheerleader and an NFL football player, you're, required to do community service. And
Hmm.
sometimes, like my daughter's going to nursing school, she's required for nursing school. They have to do community service. And a lot of college students have to do so many hours. I would love for the some college students to use their volunteer hours with Team Gateway to a Cure. That would be awesome.
Well, what I'm gonna end up doing is, I don't know if I mentioned, I am in the process of the construction of the actual Sporting Crashers official podcast website. So it will be a highly interactive website that will have the capability of having, for instance, in this particular case, having the volunteer sheet pretty much directly linked to your website, so they can sign up on my site directly to the form that you have available on
I
yours.
love
So
that.
listeners, listeners, in a few months, it's going to be less than a few months, but probably by the end of June, I'll have it up and running. So that's a definitely something that I'd love to do. And as far as helping with the volunteer work, I live right now in the Dallas Fort Worth area, have friends in pretty much everywhere. So when it comes to this power of social media, definitely we're gonna help push that.
Yeah, that I
So
could use
I'm
volunteer.
gonna tell you right now, I am gonna
I would
volunteer,
love
and
that.
I'm gonna be in
I
attendance for both. I'm telling you right now.
absolutely.
So you heard it here,
Yeah,
folks.
social media. I
Oh,
would love
perfect.
volunteers to help, push out the message. The foundation, Team Gateway to a Cure, as well as House of Arms, the documentary movie. But the one last thing that I do want to touch on is the Washington Post just had Tom House
Mm,
on the front page. I don't
okay.
know if you saw that on my social media post today
I
and
did.
Instagram.
I saw it. Yes, I
So
did.
his
Hmm.
app has gone viral. It's called Mustard. And Mustard is an app where he takes the exact same teaching concepts that he has trained the greatest Brady, Breeze, Nolan, Ryan, Johnson, Randy Johnson. I mean, some of the greatest, Tim Tebow. I mean, he is using the same teaching techniques on this app.
Wow.
And you can take a video of your athlete, of your child, whether it's baseball, running, quarterback, football, whatever it is, and you can upload it on the app. And Tom House will analyze it and give you feedback. And what happens is the feedback and the data start building on the app. And over time, you'll see improvement. He will
Hmm.
critique, he'll analyze, he'll give feedback. And it's just a really, really great way to keep the younger generation intensely involved and want to keep driving
Absolutely.
for to become better and better and better without injuries,
That's the
because the
most
science
important thing.
the science speaks for itself. And when
That's
you
right.
follow the data, that's the big thing when it comes to athletes, because you want them to stay healthy and you want good mentorship, good information, not the bad stuff. Because I'm not saying that coaches don't give them good information, but sometimes it's overdrive. It's just too much. And if you listen to the ones that really know the science behind it, there's less chance of injury and a lot better chance of improvement long
Perfect.
term.
Well, just to repeat to our listeners, I know a lot of them are moms and dads, and I know a lot of them have kids in sports. The application is called Mustard. I think
Mustard.
it's a great application. It's a great concept. It's something that is needed nowadays. I mean, when we're talking about uh, uh, analytics and growth, but doing it in a way that doesn't cause injury and prevents injury. That's the most important thing. I think that's a key thing, and we're definitely going to be involved in it. Definitely would help with the push and everything like that. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you so, so much.
Well,
Tom House,
yeah.
well, I was going to share real quick. Tom House wrote the book Million Dollar Arm, where he took two young men from two different countries, never picked up a baseball in their life. And in 1 year, they both signed $1 million contracts. So what I'm saying is,
Wow.
when I speak on the science,
Yes.
and Tom trained them for 1 year, and they both signed $1 million contracts after 1 year in pitching in the Major League Baseball. You follow the science.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to have some talent, absolutely. But these two gentlemen, it's called The $1 Million Arm. It's a book. He wrote it. If you follow the science, the data speaks for itself. It's just interesting to hear this man talk.
I
So
love that.
I just thought it would, yeah.
No, I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, listeners, I think that we are gonna have a follow up episode maybe later in the year or early next year, and I would love to get him and yourself back on the show so we can pretty much update what's going on and everything when it comes
Absolutely.
to the progress of the application, the progress of the training of individuals that he might be working with, and again, when it comes to sports, when it comes to those, whether you're a young player in high school or college, it's always important to know what the science is behind it. And of course, um, it's gratifying to me that somebody that has trained the GOAT, Mr. Tom Brady himself, also takes the time to really prepare those that are next in line, but in a way that will have the longevity, because we all know NFL usually is not for long. But when it comes to having somebody that really does take the time to perfect his craft, that's where you become a master class. Absolutely.
I love that you said that. And I think what you said earlier too, Eric, was the fact that it is a business. If you take it serious and you just have patience and let the science speak for itself and just follow that data, you will be amazed at how much more enjoyable the whole long journey. You won't be have the tendency to find try to desire that instant gratification.
I agree 100%. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining the show and being our fellow crasher. One more time, can you please let our listeners know where they can find out all the information for our Team Gateway to a Cure, please?
Yes, teamgatewaytoacure.org. You can follow us. Well, that's our website, teamgatewaytoacure.org. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, Snapchat. I mean, it's all on the website. So if you want to find me, just go to the website, teamgatewaytoacure.org.
Perfect. And once again, like I said, thanks again.
Thank
I
you so
know for a
much.
fact I'll have you on a future episode. Please keep us posted on events and what's happening. And listeners that are going to be loyal fans of the podcast, you'll see me at these events, because not only am I going to attend, but I'll also be volunteering.
I love
Thanks
it. Thank you
again.
so much. God bless.
God
Bye.
bless. We'll be
Bye
right
bye.
back. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of the Sporting Crashers podcast. I'm your host, Eric Martinez. I got the pleasure and the opportunity finally with my brother. Been having a chance to get him on the show.
Yes.
Finally being met. The one and only that go-to guy, Ife Ekpenuma. Man, glad to have you on the show, bro.
Oh man, let me hit him with some Coming to America lines. I am so happy to be here right now.
You
Yes.
already know, man. The industry's favorite Nigerian. You know what it is. Hey, let them know I call him this generation's Diddy.
Yes.
Let our listeners know, man, before we start talking sports, about what you got going on with this entertainment world.
Man, I have been an entertainment entrepreneur for 11 plus years, and let me tell you, I've been here, there, everywhere with the skills. So, been involved in music, curated some of South Carolina's hip hop's best cipher videos, made cameos in videos with Sadie Hawkins. Shout out to my guy Mantis as well. I've done photo shoots, and I've actually had some photos of mine actually appear in the art museum here in Columbia, South Carolina. Been able to meet amazing hip hop talent like Fife Dog, may he rest in peace. But being able to dap him up and say, "I grew up on your music," that means a lot. So I've done a lot. Might have to update the entertainment resume, but I just really do it for the art form. When they say doing it for the culture, yeah, I think there's probably a picture of myself somewhere in that equation. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Much respect, bro. A lot of people that know me know I've been in the entertainment industry for a minute too, and definitely gotta always say this has been my right hand man for everything that people have seen with my previous endeavors, my Gen Facio magazine. So
Facts.
this is my guy right here, Ife, that go-to guy. So much love, bro.
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see you got your Gamecock colors on, fresh to death. So Gamecock Nation. I know you're an alum of the great University of South Carolina. So before we talk basketball and hoops, because I know you're sitting on top of the world with that, let me get your little insight, man, because I know you got some highly talented recruits and transfers that came into the Gamecocks this previous offseason.
Yep.
So let me know what's going on, man, with the whole Beamer ball, Shane Beamer, and I know you got some great expectations here. I know
Yeah.
the schedule might be fierce, but I know when it comes to the SEC, every day's a challenge.
Absolutely. So Shane Beamer was around when we had three consecutive seasons of 11-2 football. So he was a recruiting coach. So he's had that experience with the program before. Went off to hiring better things. Was in Oklahoma, learning under the genius that is Lincoln Riley. So he's going to bring some of those offensive philosophies, those offensive play calls with his own unique spin to it to USC. So he wanted to be here. He was born in South Carolina. So this is home for him. So he would love to come home and make this program a standout program. So, we're reaping the benefits almost immediately. First season was really good. We had the bowl game. We beat UNC, even though they have the more touted talent and the bigger awareness of their football program. That's Beamer ball. You don't quit until it hits all
Right.
zeros, giving everything that you got.
Absolutely.
And then now, the five-star quarterback that was at Oklahoma and one of their highly touted tight ends comes to USC. So we have something to
Hmm.
build up on. So it's exciting. So let me not answer the whole question all at once, but you know,
Right.
you start from the top. Coach is the CEO of the organization, and then if he has great energy, it's just going to trickle down to everybody else.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the energy that's needed to build that program. I mean, it's already has its foundation. Again, sometimes when it comes to these players that are 5-star recruits right out of high school, in this particular case, it's a little bit unique because of the show QB1 that pretty much recorded and pretty much exposed his senior year at Pinnacle. Spencer Rattler is in my opinion just as good as anybody in the country. And I know that there was moments last year that it was in question to see exactly, Caleb Williams that was at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley, had certain type of knowledge, or when it came to execution, I would say, in certain play calls and things like that that were possibly favoring him or leaning towards him. But you get somebody that wants to compete, and I think in the SEC, when we're talking about what's the difference between one team and another, most of the time you're looking at defense, you're looking at creating turnovers, stopping the run, but when we looked at, I mean, think about it like this: we had another national championship of two SEC quarterbacks, two SEC teams that were just going back and forth. I mean, look at this previous NFL draft. How many wide receivers did we see, and how many of those wide receivers did we see that came from the SEC?
That part.
So I got you, man. I got you.
Yes.
Well, I definitely wish you guys all the best of luck. And I think when it comes to just kind of dissecting the schedule, there are some games that are difficult. There are some games that historically South Carolina, can get that win. There's a lot of road games that I see that might be challenging, but I think that keeping the course, especially early in the season, is important. Especially having a guy like Spencer Rattler, Austin Stogner coming from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I know you guys got a strong safety that just came over from Gardner Webb. I think his name is Jalen Foster. So that's another, key cog that you need when it comes to solidifying most of the transfers, and then most of the four. I believe you guys got a couple 5-star recruits. So, it looks like a good season, man. It looks like there's potential there. And when we're talking about the teams that can fight to get to Atlanta, I would put them in the category. I would definitely do that. It's just you got to take care of the division wins, 100%.
That's it. It all starts in the vision, whether you're in college or you're in the NFL. You're not going to rise to the top of the league if you can't even defend home or be able to be a stalwart in your own division. So with that being said, the SEC East, of course, you know who's going to be at the top of the list. It's going to be Florida. It's going to be the Georgias of the world, and that's good. But we've gotten talent out of Florida. We've gotten talent out of
Sure.
Georgia. So with us being able to have a 5-star recruit like Spencer Rattler come over here, we have
Absolutely.
Beamer Ball. The thing is, And this sounds cliche, but you have to say it. You're going to finish how you start. So you got to start with confidence. You got to start with momentum. And if there is a game that you're supposed to win that game. Because when you win, it's momentum building into the next game. Not saying that if you have a good game beforehand that you can't lose the next game, but
Right.
just saying, hey, I'm not beating myself up because I could have won, but I made a silly mistake. I won because I was fundamentally sound. I'm bringing the fundamentals. I'm bringing that workman lunch pail mentality to the next game. Not saying that, hey, we're
Right.
so extremely talented we don't have to prepare. It's always, you gotta plan, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And one thing about
That's right.
Shane Beamer, he doesn't plan to fail, because he could have been in any other program if he wanted to. He said, I'm coming back to where I started. I'm coming back to my roots. And yes, we had a run, and now people are looking at us like, hey, they're in the SEC, but sometimes they turn it on and turn it off. We want to be
Right.
we want people circling the calendar for us and saying this is going to be a tough game, and this is
Sure.
going to be a game we got to bring it, or we're going to lose. That's the type of mentality that I feel that Beamer is going to bring to this program, and pretty soon it's gonna go ahead and spread to the whole fan base, because we're ready for wins. That's simple as that. We're ready
Well,
for wins.
I'll say this. I'll say this to kind of summarize pretty much how I feel about you guys right now. There was all kinds of teams contacting Spencer, right? I mean, everybody was looking. They knew what was happening in Oklahoma. Didn't necessarily know if Lincoln Riley would take the USC job with the Trojans, and didn't know if Caleb Williams was going to transfer or not.
Yes.
But everybody was knocking on the doorstep. There's a team that he chose, and there's all kinds of reasons that he chose it. But at the end of the day, it's about what's the potential and what's the possibility to get to his college goals, right? Fulfilling what he didn't necessarily possibly accomplish in Oklahoma, which, a lot of us saw the show QB1, the exposure that he got. So I know how committed he was going to Oklahoma. And sometimes that's the humbling part, right? That's the humbling part, because sometimes we're shown something that we really think that that's how it's going to work out, but that's why the transfer portal and having the opportunities to go to a new place, having a clean slate, that's where that character is built. We see it all the time. We've been seeing that a lot.
Yeah. And one thing, even though I I hail from an SEC school and I got the student loan debt to prove it, it's something about the Big 12.
Oh man.
It's something about the Big 12 and those quarterbacks, because I'm thinking the current quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, I forget his name. It's not the new guy, even though he's a Carolina product, kind of, sort of. I don't mention the other school because I don't have a degree.
Oh Lord,
I'm,
you're talking about Mr. Controversy
I'm
himself,
not.
Mr.
No,
Baker
no, no. We
Mayfield.
we gonna stay clear of that. We just gonna mention no name. Good for the SEO. But the current quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, he was at actually my dad's alma mater. Shout out to Texas Tech Red Raiders. He was there.
Right.
He bet on himself. Went to Oklahoma, and the rest is history. Then you have another Texas Tech guy, and I don't know why, but I would just be watching his football games, and he was putting up Madden numbers in college. My homie,
That's right.
Mahomes, Patrick, my
You
homie
know it.
Patrick. Oh my gosh, setting the
You know it.
NFL on fire. So it's something about Big 12 quarterbacks, and now that we have a Big 12 quarterback implant in Spencer
Right.
Rattler, this is the SEC.
Right.
This is where defense is. You want to play defense in the SEC, because we've had people like Kinlaw, Jadavion Clowney, all types of defensive guys go high up in the draft, because you got to play defense in the SEC, and we may not be the best
Got to.
team, but we play defense. So
That's
there it
right.
goes. But with that being said,
That's right.
hey, Spencer Rattler just got to do what he's capable of doing, and he can pretty much punch in his first day ticket in the NFL. All things going well. I want to see that for him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, I really hope that you guys click on all cylinders, give a little scare uh, to those that are possible national championship contenders, including your guys' rival. Won't mention any names, but the guys on that side, because that one is one of my favorite games
That's
to
a
watch.
rivalry game
The
for real.
emotion and passion, absolutely.
I
Rivalry,
see
rivalry week is
households. I see
important.
households, and I don't know how they do it. You have one kid that went to Carolina. You have the other kid going to the other program. Like, how
Oh
do you
yeah.
keep the peace? The colors don't even blend like that. It's just like,
Well, real quick, without talking about the other school, I'm gonna say one statement. We're gonna move on. I'm not gonna mention names. Losing the defensive coordinator to become a head coach at another program. Don't nobody of my listeners better tell me that's not gonna affect the program. I'm sorry, because that coach won't mention any names was
legendary
one
though.
of the glue guys
Yes,
when it comes to the championship defenses that they had.
yes,
Now, offensively, yes, I'm gonna respect it, yes, but defensively, there's an anchor that might be missing.
you're right.
We moving on with that.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, man. Hey, listen, bro. I have to tell you one time. I know I texted you right when it went down, but I have to congratulate the 2022 NCAA Women's Champions, man. The South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball. Absolutely great performance, not only all year, but also in the NCAA tournament. I just wanted to kind of get a touch base with you. We're starting to see, well, we've already seen it, but we start seeing the real greatness of Don Staley. Absolutely great head coach.
Yep.
I want to have you kind of tap into the last 8-9 years of how the program was in the very beginning, how it's been solidified, and not only the national championships, but also everything that's being said in the city of Columbia, man. Because this is a true historic moment, because now it's literally putting her in the category of a multiple championship head coach. I just want to know a little bit more of everything that she's done to build this culture, man.
Well, first and foremost, shout out to the first USC. I know there's the USC Trojans. No offense to anyone who went to USC Trojans, but you know which one came first. With that being said, it's a testament to USC. It's a testament to the athletic department, Ray Tanner, everyone else involved, to even reach out to Dawn Staley, being that she's already an Olympic champion. She brings
Correct.
she brings a pedigree of not just being a champion, but bringing a winner's mentality everywhere she goes. So having somebody
Right.
of that caliber to even say, you know what, I'm taking an interview at USC. They haven't won anything, but I know that I'm a winner and I can bring that to this organization. So we gave her time
Man.
because it wasn't going to happen overnight. And then I think when the flip got switched, and then you got Columbia people way invested, and everyone really noticing the program was going in the right direction, is when Asia Wilson, who went to high school in Columbia as well. Family's
Mm-hmm.
born and raised here. I know her big brother, who's a DJ. Shout out to him. He knows who he is. She decides to stay home and go to USC. And then it's like
Yeah.
we can get the big names now. And then after that, building a team around Asia Wilson. And there were other amazing standouts on that team as well. They win that first championship. Now people are like,
Right.
yes, you can win a championship in USC. You can win in South Carolina, not North Carolina. Of course, UNC basketball, especially in the men's program, world renowned. You can list names that are in the NBA now or coaching or doing whatever they want in sports. That's a given.
Sure. Sure.
But to bring a championship pedigree to the women's basketball team that had never been done before, and now it's just a standard of excellence. You see Asia Wilson is the face of the WNBA now. You see Aaliyah
Right.
Boston winning outstanding player when they won the championship, and even the shortened COVID season. I think the team was undefeated. You know what I'm saying? And there was
Yeah.
there was an
Yes.
original statistic. The Kansas Jayhawks won on the men's side, and the Gamecocks, the Lady Gamecocks won on the women's side. They were both the number one ranked teams before they shut stuff down the shortened basketball season due to COVID. So it's just like, wow, like
Right.
excellence is going to speak for itself. And like in basketball sayings, it says the ball don't lie. You know what I'm saying? The ball don't lie. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing things. You see a lot of great players that Don Staley has coached go on to the WNBA. And the amazing thing is, these players come back. They come back to Columbia. They come back and support the women's program. Um, Funny story, a few weeks ago, I was actually in downtown Columbia and I saw Asia Wilson, but I know that this was her off time and whatnot. So hopefully I finally get to take a picture with her, even though I'll be probably like in her pocket because she's taller than me, but still got to do it for the culture. So hopefully get a picture with her and be able to thank her for what she's done for the city of Columbia, for the state of South Carolina, for the university, and for anybody that believes in their dreams, especially young women, because she said, "Hey, I can follow my dreams, be at home, be in a college that's in my hometown, and then the sky's the limit." Having the contract with Nike, um, being able to win a WNBA championship and be the face of the WNBA. If you told anybody, "Hey, you're in Columbia, South Carolina, you're going to stay here most of your young adult life, and then you're going to take off," most people wouldn't believe you. But with Asia doing it, that's
Yeah.
given the whole city hope, and you can't take that for granted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Completely agree with you. 100%. We were talking about this a few days ago when we talk about certain times, we talk about women's basketball. We talk about a lot of the great head coaches, the Gino Ariamas of the world, Pat Summerall, rest in peace. And those that just continue to landscape and be uh, an asset to women's sports in general, not just basketball. They usually take, their teams usually take on their characteristics and the personalities of what the coach portrays. And I think this is perfect because there's a lot of times that before Don Staley became a head coach, she was always featured on certain outlets, basketball outlets, that she would be somebody that would be an analyst, somebody that would break down film, somebody that would just be able to explain certain things and plays and situations that she would pretty much do instead of this. And I think that when we look at this past team, Aaliyah Boston, you mentioned most outstanding player, Destiny Henderson, so many players that really took on that personality of courage, strength, and toughness. And I think that is important because we talk about it from a physical standpoint. Usually, we always talk about men's basketball where they talk about physical toughness, right? These teams are physically tough. We usually, portray that to Villanova. Villanova basketball. Shout out Jay Wright. If you do stay retired, enjoy your retirement. If not, there's about 20 NBA teams that are probably calling your phone right now. But anyway, we won't go there. But that's that toughness part, right? Philadelphia strong, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is really a special time for the Gamecocks because everything that Don Staley represents, including you mentioned gold medal champion at the Olympics, it's the toughness, it's the grit, it's the desire to be a champion. We always talk about, well, what does it mean to be a champion? How do you become a champion? Well, the record, the titles, all these things are measured in metrics, right? But it doesn't mean about the heart. If the coach can't explain what it means to you and you question how I can become a champion, you might not be at that program. You might not be at that right program, or that coach might not be the right fit. So shout out to you. Shout out to the entire Lady Gamecocks and the Gamecocks Nation. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm not gonna predict anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the Final Four next year. I'm just saying. I'm not gonna talk about championships until I see the brackets. But I'm gonna go ahead, man. I'm that confident.
Man,
But
that's
yeah,
pretty safe because you're right. The,
that's why I said it.
you're
I didn't want to say champion. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
let me put them on that Final
the
Four.
way the players have taken on Don Staley's characteristics and her persona, it's amazing because you see consistently for the past few years, the top players in the WNBA are coming from the University of South Carolina. So Don Staley is not
Sure.
just building a powerhouse on a college level. This is talent that's going on to the
That's
highest
right.
level for women's competitive sports. So,
That's right.
it's a culture, it's economics, it's numbers, and you see a lot of these players repping USC, even in their
Mm-hmm.
pro career, even when they're not in South Carolina or Columbia. So me just recently stepping into PR, any PR is good PR. At least people are talking about you or seeing the brand. And
Yeah.
unofficially, when people are recruiting, even in other sports, Don Staley will pop up sometimes, and that's important.
That's
She's
right.
got championship rings. We're trying to have that culture for the whole collegiate
Mm-hmm.
athletics
Oh
here at
yeah.
USC, because when your
Oh,
sports
no
team
doubt.
does well, that means more money coming into the college and more people want to
Right.
come there. And if you have award-winning programs like the University of South Carolina has in business, one of the best business schools in the nation, having great
Mm-hmm.
athletics just helps. Having testimonies help. Having people remember where they were at and what they were doing in certain historical football games. And shout out to the football players that I actually am cool with. Shout out to people like Troy Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted in the top 10 when he came out. Shout out to my guy Travelle Newton. Shout out to all the USC football players that I know. Some well known and some lesser known. You know what I'm saying? And thankfully, for all the
Yeah.
South Carolina, we have the South Carolina Hall of Fame. And shout out to David Wyatt as well, a guy that I know. So I had to give him an unofficial shout out. But there's a lot of good things
Sure.
going on in South Carolina all
Mm-hmm.
across the board. And it just starts with belief in self and building upon that.
Absolutely, man. Mad respect. I like the way you segmented on that, man, because that's what I kind of want to talk about right now, man. Just a little bit of the discussion for a lot of the Gamecocks legends when it comes to the football, man. There's a lot, and again, if we if we if we could talk about everybody, we'd sit here for hours and
Yes,
hours, man.
we
But
would.
I definitely am gonna get to a few because I think it's kind of necessary in this NFL that we see as for the last few years. A lot of these players that I'm about to mention, what they represented not only to your alma mater but also what it meant for the football program is huge, man. I'm gonna start off with Mr. Alshon Jeffrey.
Yep. Funny, I saw him around my birthday a few months ago. But yeah, being able to not go to Tennessee, and the coach at the time was telling him that he would never have an NFL career, to him being on the Philadelphia
Mm,
Eagles, winning the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of surreal, me being a music and hip hop head.
right,
Them coming out to Mick Mill's Dreams and Nightmares. I was just like,
right,
that's surreal. Like, this is an NFL
right,
game. And it's just like, hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished.
man.
It's just like, ooh,
I'm
Eagles
telling you,
better win. You better not have that
no,
hype,
I'm telling you,
that hype pregame music and lose. What are you doing? What are you doing?
it's one of those things, man. I mean, I saw. I mean, of course, we saw it. A lot of us saw it in college, in Chicago. I won't really talk about the experience, but there was still dominant numbers. You're talking about still dominant numbers for considering. No disrespect to the Chicago Bears fans, but considering there's no quarterback, who's throwing to him? So I agree 100%. And I think that's a good word to use when I think about him is overcoming adversity.
That's it.
Compound word, compound meaning. But I think that's important because that's that mentality that you have to have. You got to have that, and especially if you're a wide receiver. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I'm a transition man, and I think this is one of those anybody that is a football fan in general holds a heavy heart, especially with the experience and what occurred. But Marcus Lattimore,
Oh, Marcus Lattimore. You want a Marcus Lattimore no matter what type of program you have. Hard worker, very humble,
Correct.
a guy that could talk to anybody and doesn't feel that he's better than anybody just because he's a football player. Somebody who was selfless when he could really have been selfish. And even though he made it to the league and he couldn't do much to due to his knee injury, that's just one of the
Right.
unspoken
That's that
legends.
part.
When he was at USC, you just knew
Oh, absolutely.
he was automatic, and he was a consummate winner. Like he acted like he was there before. When he scored a touchdown, he'd celebrate with his teammates, be real calm, hand the ball to the ref, back to the sidelines. People get in the end zone and then do elaborate dance sequences. He was just a workmanlike guy, but his spirit and his aura and what he brings is just it's beyond words. But Marcus Lattimore, stand up guy,
Absolutely.
stand.
100%. 100% agree with that. And that's again, I think success in life will always be determined on what we do with adversity. But I think that in his case, I do truly like to describe him as fearless. I mean, a fearless winner, no matter what.
Yep.
What you think about Stephon Gilmore, man?
I was so happy when he was with the Panthers because it was like closer to a Carolina connection. But Gilmore is one of those guys immensely talented from the Rock Hill, South Carolina area, immensely talented. He's already won a championship and whatnot. And, adding to the USC name, the pedigree is there. An outstanding cornerback, able to be a student of the game, and he's just
Right.
one of those guys where he just wants to get the job done. So his
Right.
side of the field is pretty much going to be shut down, whether he's defending your best
Man.
wide receiver or just somebody. It's not really about the stats. It's just knowing that if you're throwing his way, your chances of getting a completion is low. And he's a defensive leader,
Absolutely
so
right.
it is what it is.
Look, man. Look, man. I'm gonna say a statement, okay? And I'm not comparing him to this player, but I do want to compare. I do want to compare the mentality that this guy used to have. There's a guy, Mr. Darrell Revis, and that Revis Island mentality is what I've seen from Stephon Gilmore,
I
100%.
see it.
Because from a young age and from what I saw when he first got into the league, he had that mentality. He had that mentality. I'm gonna lock down my wide receiver, and I dare the quarterback to throw in my direction.
That's it.
So that's why every time I think of him, and every time, of course, as the years go on, but like you said, he still has. I mean, again, it might be where there's certain physical limitations that he might not necessarily have as he grows older, right? But the knowledge, and also that confidence,
Yes.
that I mean, it's hard to beat. And look at Richard Sherman. No disrespect, but Richard Sherman still in the league and kicking because he has that mentality.
Yep.
I mean, Stanford really developed that mind. So yeah, man, I got to transition, man. But this guy is a genuine monster, Mr. Melvin Ingram. Woo!
Yes, 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 yes. Hey, SEC is known for defense.
That's right.
We in the
That's right.
SEC.
That's right.
Defense. Come on, like Melvin was doing amazing things when he was here. Glad that he got to the NFL, got paid, and I mean, we've had some pretty amazing linebackers come through to the program. So just having
Yeah.
Melvin do it on his own terms, kind of be a hybrid position between defensive end, linebacker. I mean, it's versatility. It's not saying, hey, I'm just one position. It's a matter of just being versatile and say, hey, put me where I can help the team win, whether it's college or pros. And Melvin is a consummate professional. That's why he has the career he has.
I think one of the main things that we see in the NFL, not only well football in general, NFL and college, is that word hybrid, right? That hybrid, that linebacker, defensive end, and can go back and forth, or one of those defensive ends that can cover. I genuinely think since he got to the NFL, it's like every single practice, every single rep, he gets better, and it's so rare to see that with a player, right? And that's why free agency market teams that need a guy like that because he's a staple guy on defense
Yep.
because he's reliable. I mean, you're gonna find he might make a mistake, comes back and he makes up for it. So I think just that physicality that he plays with is just a coordinated, reckless, just passion that comes with where everything that was developed in South Carolina.
Yep.
Um, I like saying that because I'm gonna get to the next guy, and I think everything about this guy, you know, as far as the potential, as far as where he got drafted and everything. But I still believe that championship caliber, a pedigree, and in my opinion, a motor when the key is turned, that motor is gonna keep going. But it's just a matter of how much he's gonna turn that key. But Jadeveon Clowney,
Okay, so funny.
as mentioned before.
Yes, so funny story. So I was on USC's campus while he was still playing football at USC, and I just see this tall guy, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, he's probably at 0% body fat. And then I leave the area, and then I realize that was Jadeveon Clowney, and I think this was before
Right.
the hit because everybody knows about the
Okay.
hit.
Oh, everyone
Like
knows the
the
hit.
helmet
That's what I'm
flew
about to say.
off,
That
the
was
ball got fumbled. You tackle somebody, they lose their helmet, and they fumble, and you recover the fumble. Like, what type of superhero are you, sir? Like,
that's exactly
and it
right.
was
That
just
was that
like
was a superhero moment.
you couldn't top that.
Superhero moment.
I think after that
Absolutely.
moment, you just put him on ice. He just comes to class, and then after 3 years of being the thing, it's just like, okay, you can go to the
Yeah.
league now because it was like everybody had to double and triple team him now because they're like, you're not hitting our quarterback and running back like you hit this guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I think they still sell posters of the hit.
No. Yeah. Yeah. No. I was about to say. I mean, I see it all the time as a lot of people's default on Twitter. Like that's their default profile picture, man. I've seen it a lot. But yeah, just to summarize, Debo Samuel, one of those players, rare finds, absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
Everything that I saw from last year, and in my opinion, pay the man,
Facts.
pay the man.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, Ife, man, hey, go-to guy, that go-to guy, the one and only. Hey, man, I appreciate you being on the show. Hey, let my listeners know everything, all the platforms that you're on, how they can find you as far as business management, music management,
Yeah.
the one and only. We always say this all the time. Sports and music are synonymous, right? We know that 100%. So let everybody know the artists that you manage, everything that you got going on with your PR work, because I know there's somebody that's listening right now that definitely needs some help with their portfolio and how to be put on.
Okay. Well, it's interesting the positions that I kind of do. Started off as a music manager. Recently got into public relations, and not just in music or entertainment. One of my clients, actually, it's a family. The daughter actually has a law named after her for the state that she's in, and just helping that family navigate and be able to take their brand to the next level. So that's just me stepping outside of the box. Definitely want to work with a tech company because we know app creation is the wave, but you want to be able to build platforms that take people to the next level. When it comes to a new space that I'm recently in, artists and repertoire, I've been in that space already because being a music manager, sometimes you see the talent in somebody and you have to build the business around them, build the team around them, get them to have
That's right.
momentum and so forth. So my social media, thankfully, is just branding, and soon come will be start off as a one page website, and then I'll probably build the website out to be something bigger and better. I'm not a website builder, but I know some great ones, so I'm gonna lean in on them. But you can find me on most social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Clubhouse at that go to guy ThatGoToGuy. I do have a TikTok. I am that go to guy. AMThatGoTuGuy. Spelling's not my strong suit, but that's me on TikTok. I'm not gonna be doing no dances. I'm that bridge
Nah, yeah,
generation. I ain't gonna be
no
doing the
doubt.
trendy dances or whatnot, but I will be posting musical artists that I work with. Shout out to Ollie the God. He's in Australia. Shout out to my guy, Little Julio the Don. He's doing his thing. There is a young lady. She is in Toronto, Canada, doing amazing things. Actually got her on her remix wave, so she can remix any record. She can do hip hop. She can do pop. She can do R&B, and she can do reggae tracks. So that's interesting right there. Shout out
Okay.
to my guy Bowtie. He's amazing. I call him the Pharrell of South Carolina. And there's some other talent that I work with too. Shout out to Rayla June. She's gonna have some amazing things coming out in the near future. And shout out to my little bro, Justice Plant. If Don Tolliver and Travis Scott were one person, that would be him. Ad libs crazy, $1 million instrumentals over no $1 million. Let me get it right. $1 million melodies over trap instrumentals. That's Justice Plant. So
I like that.
even though right now it's just a situation where I want to be in a position to really put on the talent in the Carolinas, especially South Carolina, on a bigger platform. It's just a matter of let me define my brand beyond music and entertainment, and that's why I'm really excited about this episode of Sports Crashers with you, E, because I
Yes,
don't think
sir.
a lot of people know that I'm in my sports bag real heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So,
yeah,
it's all about cross promotion. You gotta understand your
all day,
brand beyond just what you're
all
into.
day.
You know what I'm saying? Because low key, and I hope this can be a prelude to great things. Justice Plant has a song called "No Cocky," and it could be the anthem for the Gamecocks football team. So I'm letting y'all know
Okay.
first before the
Oh
song
yeah,
came
man.
out. It's about to be some
Man,
heat.
I'm telling you.
It's about to be some heat.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. We appreciate that, man. And like I said, bro, really appreciate you coming on my show, man. Like one thing that, a lot of our listeners that are,
Man, I
pretty
support
much
you,
fairly
E.
new to this
Just like
show,
you
but
support me,
yeah,
man.
man.
Come on.
Always,
We're
all
going way
day. All
back.
day, bro. All day.
I get my
From
money at this.
LA
I'm coming to Dallas,
and
man.
the Bay
I'm coming to
Area
Dallas.
all the way to Columbia. Come out to Dallas anytime you want, man. You know what it
Yes.
is. Well, I appreciate you, man. You take care, bro.
You already
Thanks for
know.
being on the show. Appreciate it.
Already. Already.
Welcome back to episode 3 of the Sporting Crashers podcast. I'm excited to announce we finally have her on the show. Very excited to have DFW's very own McKayla of the Texas Rangers six shooter. How you doing?
Good, and yes, it's finally. I think we've
We
scheduled this like a
did, we
couple
did.
times, so
I
finally
appreciate you
on.
being on.
Happy to be
Absolutely. I know how
here.
busy you
Thanks for
are. It's
having
in
me.
season and everything, so glad I could get you on the show.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for having
Absolutely.
me. I'm
So
definitely
you are
excited
our
to be here.
crasher, our first crasher of the episode. So before we get into anything when it comes to Texas Rangers, your involvement in any of that, tell me a little bit about. You told me, when I first introduced myself and I wanted you to get on the show, you were like, "Hey, look, I can never root for any other team, right?" So first thing you told me was like, "Okay, I am through and
Yeah.
through an Aggie, Texas A&M." So give me a little bit about the experience of that, not just the college life that you were involved in, but just being involved in everything. Because I know sports wise and especially academics, that's one of the top schools in our country for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I loved Texas A&M being an Aggie. So I actually originally was not like big into
Hmm.
Texas A&M or being an Aggie or anything. Like going through high school, Tech was definitely my number one choice. I was really interested in LSU, and I really didn't know that much about A&M besides like all the jokes everyone makes about it, like being a cult, stuff like that. But one
Heard
of my
that
best
too.
friends in high school, yeah, drink the
Yeah.
maroon lemonade. But one of my best friends in high school, she was a third or fourth generation Aggie, and
Hmm.
so like her house was maroon, like that was her family thing. And she went to college while I was still in high school, and I went to go visit her one weekend, like just go see her, and I fell in love with it. Just if have you ever been to College Station
No, I
or
drove
been
through
to?
it. I, I haven't
Okay.
I haven't stopped and enjoyed it yet.
It's just
Not yet.
such like a college town. The spirit, they'll say the spirit of Aggieland is like everywhere. It's its own little place. And like when you're
Hmm.
there, you'll either know like you're gonna be so into it and like super hype and pumped, or it's just not your place. So when I was there, I immediately knew like I'm going to school here. Like this is for me. It was just so awesome. So I did not want to leave. And then after that, I think it was like the end of my junior year. Like it was almost a cutoff point where people were applying to colleges, and like last minute, I like sent in my application on the last day, and was like set that I was gonna go to A&M. So once I was there, still loved it. Obviously, sports are like amazing at A&M. If you've
Yeah.
never been, like, you need to go to a football game at Kyle Field. It is
Hmm.
just it's a whole nother experience. Like it's hard to explain if you've never been there, but just the atmosphere. Everyone is so friendly. Everyone is just so pumped. No matter like who you're playing, just the way the student body is. They stand the entire football game to watch. You're not allowed to sit if you're a current student, and just that interaction and like that love for
Hmm.
the team that you have is just unmatched. I feel like there's not too many other teams, especially in college, that are like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's what's up. I like that. That represents. Yeah, I've watched a lot of Texas A&M. I mean, even before they were in the SEC. Not to outdate myself and give my age, but they were in the Big 12, and a lot of their rivalries with the old days when they played Texas pretty much every
Hmm.
single year. So I was in California, living in the Bay Area. So living in the Bay Area, we had our. I'm a huge Cal Berkeley Go Bears fan. So we had our Stanfords, but you just pretty much had all the rivalries that you saw every single Saturday. Alabama,
Hmm.
LSU. So like Texas A&M is one of those not just programs that's been built for so many years, but just the whole respect and rivalries that they've created. So it's pretty
And
good.
even on an
And
academic level, like I have my
I was
Aggie
gonna
ring,
say,
which is such a big thing. And even I have so many friends that went to other colleges. They're like, "You still wear your college ring?" And I'm like, "Always." Like it's definitely a thing. I look for it when I'm out. Like if I'm at an airport, I feel like I always run into other Aggies and check for the ring. And it's definitely like a lot bigger than just going to school there for 4 years. And that's what I really
right.
like. Yeah, my dad was in the army, and so I feel like that's a very just like a military thing as well. They have the Corps of Cadets, so I really like that about A&M.
Well, we definitely want to thank your father for his service for sure. I mean, my
Thank you.
brother-in-law is active, and I tell him every single day that's definitely something that we're very proud of. So, yeah, transitioning. So you told me right away that dance has always been something that you've been into, right? So it's been important for you from the get-go. So just let our listeners know a little bit of backstory of just not only the dancing experience that you've had in your career, but also the opportunities that you've pretty much taken advantage of.
Yeah, so I've been dancing since I can remember. I don't know exactly when I started, but no, it's definitely
Hmm.
like a toddler. Like before I was in elementary school, I started dance. I tried a few things for like a season, like basketball, soccer, and I just never my thing. Dance was just always it for me. So I, like I said, danced in a studio growing up, going through elementary school. Once I probably got to, I want to say around middle school is when I got really serious about it and I wanted to start competing competitively. So, like
Hmm.
at the studio I went to, and they're not even around anymore. But you can try out, you audition to be on their competitive team and go to competition. So I auditioned, I made competitive team, and I was basically doing competitions. I was in the dance studio like 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. That was just where I lived, and doing that all through probably like fourth grade through eighth grade. And so I always
Okay.
knew I wanted to, like, once I got to high school is when I really started to get, I was serious about it, but I started to really get serious, like, like going to the gym, doing workouts to help dance, like trying to, eat a specific way. Um, I also tried out for my high school dance team. So I'm from Mansfield, Texas, so not too far
Mm-hmm.
away from, Ranger stuff. But
Right,
I
right.
knew I wanted to dance there, so I danced on varsity for 4 years. And we kind of did the usual football stuff, but then also competitive there, and was an officer. So I was a first lieutenant my junior year, and then captain my senior year. And once doing that and being an officer is when I really started to get into like choreographing and things like that. So once I graduated high school, I kind of wanted to focus more on being a coach and doing choreography. So I started working like summer camps and working with middle school and high school teams there. Um, I really got in a bind of like what I if I wanted to do dance full time as my career or do other things, and I ultimately just decided just for life and being an adult paying bills to study
No,
other
yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Yeah. So to study
Yeah,
other things in college, yeah. Well, I'm sure it gets hard, but I would have loved
yeah.
to dance and coach full time, but they don't get paid a lot, sadly.
Well, I'll tell you what. The crazy part is like you're telling me, and it's kind of like what where you're at right now. It just sounds like everything kind of aligned, right? Just
Yeah,
now
it did
living
align.
a part of your dream, and just being a part of not only an organization like the Texas Rangers baseball here, not only in the DFW but also in the state of Texas, and then of course being a Rangers six shooter. So tell a little bit of our listeners, because I know a few of them were asking me, well, like, what is that? Like, what is it that they do? Your involvement in the community, and then also just day in the life of, and then the process of the audition. I'm always
Yeah.
interested in knowing how's that work.
So the Texas Rangers six shooters in general have been around since I think like the 70s, like just the concept
Hmm.
of it. Um, but this year's definitely have been rebranded. We do a lot of things. I think the best term would be like a spirit squad. But
Right.
what we do during game days, so we do dance. Like if you from start to finish a game, we're there welcoming fans in, saying hi to the ballpark, taking photos. We also help with all the in-game experiences. So when you're there and you see like people on camera or like the little kids doing the steal a
Yeah,
base, we're helping with those. So we are
that's
help
cool.
like looking to find contestants. We're talking to them, making sure they're at the right spot. They know when the camera crews are. We're doing that production stuff as well. So it's kind of before
Hmm.
game to get ready for that. And then we do our six shooter intros. So that is when we dance on the field before the game starts. So we do that entertainment. And then basically the game, we do different stuff every game. Kind of depends on the day of the week and what's going on and who's there. But we will do some dances on the dugouts, either like mid fourth, mid seventh inning. We'll throw t shirts, just taking photos. Like I said, doing those in game experiences, and that's what a game day is like. So in general, it's just kind of like ballpark entertainment. There
Hmm.
just to entertain the fans, but it's a wide variety of stuff that we're doing, which is really fun. We never know what we're doing until we get there that day. We get a schedule and we're like, okay, like what are you assigned to? What are you doing? Which is always really fun. So
Okay.
yeah,
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm always like when I see different organizations, different sports. I always see like on our previous episode we had Alicia Seide from the Dallas Stars Ice Girls. So she was telling me a little bit about her auditions and kind of everything, and then she was telling me like how she was an actual figure skater. You know what I mean? So combining the concepts of that, I'm always interested, especially when you think of baseball. You would think of, okay, well, you have in, like you said, spirit squad and things like that, but so much more than just the cheering process. You know what I mean? Cheering on the
yeah.
team. So I
And we
got to
have a
ask
mix.
you. So
Oh, I was gonna
no,
say,
go
well,
ahead,
we
go
have a
ahead.
mix of girls on our team. So we have dancers, some girls who have like historically been cheerleaders. Different. Most girls have one of those backgrounds just because at auditions we do dance. So like this auditions were 2 days. So we did have two dance routines that we had to learn that had like some technique in them. So like if you're watching this, you want to try out, definitely take some dance classes and know some
Yeah,
cheerleading moves. But we also,
that's smart.
because we do fan interactions, like we had interviews that was part of the process. We
Hmm.
also like learned about what the game experiences are and just promotion stuff as well. So it's kind of a mix. You definitely have to, like I said, have some a little bit of dance or cheer backgrounds. Be very bubbly, good personality, like quick
Right.
answering, just because
Yeah.
anything can happen with fans. But yeah, that's basically what our audition process is like.
Okay. So I had a important question because as soon as you're telling me, I was like, okay, wait a minute. So you kind of told me right off the top, you're like, all right, I've pretty much born and raised in DFW, grew up as a Texas Ranger fan. So your whole family's Texas Ranger fans?
Yeah, my brother
Oh,
did grow up playing baseball, so he's had a few, like, just growing up, he'll have some favorite players. So he'll kind
yeah,
of like,
yeah.
he has like other team shirts and other stuff, and we've visited other ballparks, but definitely just Rangers the most because we're from here. Like I've actually
Mm-hmm.
like gone to spring training. There was one year, I want to say like my freshman or sophomore year for spring break.
Mm-hmm.
My brother really wanted to go to Arizona for Ranger spring training, so like that was our spring break family vacation. Was
Right.
going to spring training. So yeah, definitely
I
all
love
like
spring
Ranger
training.
fans. Yeah, Cowboys fans. Just hometown teams for sure.
Who's your all-time favorite Texas Ranger in that you've ever seen that you like the most?
I'd probably say I know this is a lot, but like Nolan Ryan, just because
Okay.
they don't
Yeah.
have players like him anymore. Um,
No, no, I agree. I agree.
so it's definitely just
Yeah.
a classic. For
You know,
sure.
it's funny. I moved out to Dallas about 6 years ago, right? So I'm from the Bay Area. So my team is SF Giants, San Francisco, and it's funny because I've had a lot of friends that are from Dallas that I just gotten to know over the years, and they always ask me like, "So who's your favorite Texas Ranger fan? Ranger player?" And I'm always like, "Well, the only reason is because I remember this guy playing in Candlestick Park, and it was Will Clark. So when he came to the Rangers, I always remember. I'm like, okay, I know that might be a little bit before your time or whatever, but it was one of those things that it's like once I moved out here, and then I got a chance to go the last few years or the last year at the old ballpark right across the street from Glow Life, and that was an experience. Even though I experienced a summer game,
Yeah, that
and I was
he
like, what is going on with this?
a lot of people have
Yeah.
different opinions about the new stadium, but like one thing everyone
Okay.
can agree on is that the roof, having the AC and stuff in the
Yes.
summer, is so nice. So nice. I cannot imagine like dancing and being there all game days at the old
Oh,
stadium.
I bet. I bet. I know that was something. Real quick, I want to transition back to the audition process. This is always important to me, and I always ask these questions because I always feel like these are moments in life that we take with us, and we can kind of, transition them to others and the youth and everything. But what's the most important advice you got in terms of the audition? That you can maybe say that you either applied it or gave it on to somebody else.
I would say, and just, as someone who I've been doing auditions since I was like 10 years old, I would say just to like, one, have fun. You can,
Mm-hmm.
like, the job is fun. Anytime you're doing any like dance entertainment things, like, you're there to have fun and people see that, fans, people see that. So have fun. And I guess just like, it sounds really cliche, but like, just give it like your all your energy, just out there. A lot of people think that like you need to be perfect and do everything like especially in dance because it's choreographed, but that's not true. I mean, even a lot of times when we're performing, things are so quick. Like we usually sometimes we'll get there and like we don't even know what song we're dancing to until like
Mm-hmm.
that day. So everything's really quick, and most of the time, like if you mess up, people don't notice as long as you're like having fun and smiling and like really energetic. So that's really all I could say is just like don't hold back, just give it your 100%. I know a lot of people get really intimidated. It's intimidating to be like a room full of girls and
Sure.
judges just there staring at you, but once you're just having fun and your personality and stuff comes through, then that's what they really care about. I feel like is they want fun, energetic, like confident people on their team.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I think that's important when it comes to building the confidence and keeping the confidence. That's definitely something that you can roll with for sure.
Yeah.
So I know how close a community is when it comes to anything with the arts, performing arts, and dance. So it's a chance for you to give any type of plug or shout outs to any type of dance studios that you have or you work with in the DFW.
Yeah, so as a team for like the Rangers six shooters, we don't have a specific team, which is, I mean, a specific studio, which is cool because
Mm-hmm.
we have all of our girls bringing in their different stuff. I do not
Right.
work for a specific studio. I just do freelance stuff when I coach. But a one that I've done recently, one of our girls named Amber, she is going, has been going there, and then they just had their spring recital last night, which we went to go watch. But it was Live
Oh,
Arts
nice.
Conservatory in Dallas.
Okay.
I've done a few drop-in classes, and it's really awesome. That's one thing I do really like about like dance in Dallas in general is you can always like drop in. So like you can go see classes and drop in and try different things out. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times as an adult, that's what you kind of have to do.
Yeah.
There's always prep classes. I know people do that like all the time. Different dance teams or dance girls, like a lot of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders will just do master classes, and they'll just kind of post on their social media that it's like that day, it's a one-time thing and you can come by.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely that's kind of my thing, what I do, especially even with COVID happening. I feel like a lot of
Sure.
dancers
Yeah.
got to get used to learning things online, so there's so many like virtual classes, virtual things, classes on YouTube Live. And that's kind of what I do, which is really fun. Dance styles change from like region to region and like different places in the US. So I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
like anytime I see something that pops up and my schedule is free, then I try to do all of those little like, drop-ins, clubs, master classes, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So do you have any business endeavors? Like you want to do anything, down the line with anything when it comes to either dance or, having your
I
own
don't
business?
know. So I, not to, yeah, I graduated college four
That's a
years
real
ago.
answer though. That's a real answer. I don't know
So
because
yeah, because so I graduated college 4 years ago. So I'm just kind of getting to the point where I'm like set in my career. So in like my full, so a lot of people don't know. For all the Texas Rangers six shooters, we have full time jobs or full time students outside
right,
of also six shooters. Um,
for sure.
and so, I'm just getting to the point where I'm like set in my professional career. I do a lot of times will do choreography or like coaching just kind of on the side when I have free time.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think dance is something that will always be a part of my life, just like because that's like my release, That's just what I find fun. But I don't at this point have any like set goals or set stuff of like this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just kind of been going with it and seeing what happens. Even with the six shooters, like I said, I had been once I got into college, I really was just focusing on being a coach and a choreographer, and I
Hmm.
really didn't think I was gonna be performing again as a dancer. And after COVID just was such a thing that I was like, you know what? I think I saw auditions being posted on social media, and I was like, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go and see what happens. So even that was so random for me. I think I decided like 2 days before auditions. So it all kind of came together, and so that's kind of what I am right now with dance, and that whole thing is just seeing what happens and what comes to me, but it'll always be a part of my life in like some shape or form.
Cool. Oh, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, right now you're at the point in your life where you're fulfilling one of your dreams, and then you're also planning to see exactly what's next. So, you're
Yeah.
not alone. You're not alone. I mean, COVID kind of put us all back on reset. I've always kind of
For
been in
sure.
the sports entertainment industry from back in the day, and then I kind of took a detour with I published and produced magazines, fashion magazines, and I still want to do it. It was just like everything kind of had to be put on pause
Yeah.
with COVID. So I started thinking about it, and I started talking to a lot of people, and they're like, well, you should launch a podcast. You should go from there. And I'm like, well, I like talking about sports, but I don't want to be that guy that just is sitting on here and giving you ESPN updates, and everything like that. It's more of
Yeah.
I'd rather get to somebody like yourself that's involved every single day with a sports organization, but it's in-depth conversation. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right, so we got to the section here. This is actually a staple of the show for most of our guests. We call it the Crashers Coffee Giveaway. So I'm going to ask you about 10 questions, and some of them are just opinion based. I think actually a lot of our listeners will enjoy it because it kind of gives you expertise on the DFW area since you're from here, and
Yeah.
anybody that's looking to travel here. Definitely, we can do that. If you do
Put me on the
get the
spot.
correct answers, it is Coffee on the Crashers, $15 gift card from our coffee sponsors. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and start right away. So the first question in the DFW, if somebody wanted to actually get the best tacos, where would they go?
Ooh,
And again,
okay,
it
and
could
this
be
is
just
my real
which one
answer,
do you
which
like?
doesn't help anybody visiting, would be like my aunt and uncle's house. That's where,
Oh
like, when I'm
wow,
really wanting
homemade.
tacos, and I know, like, oh yes, like holidays are coming, then my uncle will probably cook some, and like that's my place to go. So I don't know.
Okay.
I'm very like I don't really go to a lot of like restaurants like that. I will say in Mansfield, like the best are the
Hmm.
little hole in the wall places. I do frequent
Right.
Chipotle a lot, but the best is hole
Right.
in the wall. There's there's
Sure.
a place in Mansfield, Texas called Jalisco's, and they are very good as
Jalisco's.
well.
All
Yeah,
right.
I would say those are
Okay.
my most visited
All
places.
right. Hey, listen. Shout out Jalisco's. I definitely have to try it one day. So, what current Rangers six shooter is an alum of Dallas Baptist University cheer?
That is Lindsay Nellis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good. Very
yeah,
good.
she's awesome.
Now,
She's
shout
on
out
my
the whole
team.
DBU baseball team. We got pretty close to them this year. So, definitely shout out Blaine Jones, Cole Moore. Shout out the whole team, especially getting to the regional. So, and Lindsay. Yes, absolutely. That's
Yeah, shout out to Lindsay. She's one of my best friends. So, hey, Lindsay, I know she'll be watching this.
Absolutely. Glad I could get a plug for her. So that's great, great. All right, next one. Who is your favorite all-time country singer?
Country singer, all time favorite. I don't, probably like old school Dolly Parton for sure. And
Hmm.
then, yeah, we'll just say Dolly Parton. Because I like her music, but she's also just a great, like, representative of the community, does a lot for children and, like, her reading programs and stuff. So she's definitely, I have to say her.
Good answer. Good answer. Now, this question doesn't have to be a nightclub. It could be something that's like sort of like one, where either it's a lounge or anything like that. There's plenty of them here in the Dallas area.
Yeah.
What's your favorite nightlife area to visit?
So I am definitely not like a club person, even really like a
Yeah.
bar. Like I'm like I want to sit there and like have a conversation with somebody.
Sure.
So I'm more of like a restaurant hangout kind of person. But I do really like the Henry, especially they have a rooftop bar,
Mm.
and they just have like good
Yep.
food too, and they're good for brunch. But definitely enjoying like nights there. They'll have like little lights. It's kind of really close to the American Airlines Center. So the Henry for sure.
Hmm.
They also have, it's kind of over here, I work in Plano, so I'm kind of over on this side a lot of times. This place called Kai, and it is a restaurant, and they also do have a lounge there as well. And that place it's nice because I think it's nice. They have good food, good drinks, and a DJ, but it's like you can still hear the person that's sitting next to you. So that's more
Okay.
my
Yeah, I like
vibe.
that vibe. I like that vibe a lot better too. That's good. I'm gonna have to check it out. I like in Plano. I think it's called Urban Crust. How they have that
Yeah,
restaurant.
I've
It's like
seen it, but I've never been there, so to
it's
check
pretty
it
cool.
out.
They got at the very top. It's a bar, but it's like a really vibe. It's a really
Nice.
cool vibe.
Yeah, there's
All
so
right,
many
so
places here in Dallas Fort Worth,
yeah,
which, you know.
yeah. That's why I was saying. I was like, I mean, whichever one, and that's why I put the area because I was like, it doesn't have to be a nightclub. That's why it's like nightlife area. So that's more of my vibe too. So when I go to baseball games, all batters have a walk-up song, and that's really entertaining for me, right? So
Yes.
what's your walk-up song? What's your go-to song? If it was one song to describe you, what are you going
Probably,
with?
and just because, not only just does I feel like it's just fun, but also gets me hyped, but it's an old school song. Carl Carlton, Bad Mama Jamma. That is
Oh
like,
wow.
that is my, like, that's one of my hype songs. Like when I'm getting ready or driving to games and like I need to jam out, that's my
Okay.
song.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
I like it.
Throwback,
I like it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So one thing that's popular out here that I know, like when I first moved out here, is brunch, right? Everyone's always talking about brunch. What's your favorite brunch spot?
Like I said earlier, but the Henry for sure. And
Oh,
then
okay. I haven't had
the
them for the
Henry,
brunch.
yeah, brunch is good, very good. And then there's one, oh, I'm trying to think of the name. Um, this is gonna drive me crazy. But it's in Plano. It's like a little French bistro. It's kind of
Mm,
in, what is that district called? There's so many places. Have you
I
been to the
know.
district in Plano? They have like a little waterfall and they have, it's like Union Bears right there.
Oh
And
yeah. I've been.
this is gonna drive me crazy.
Yes.
But there is a little French bistro, and like it literally
Mm-hmm.
looks so pretty. The architecture of it, everything, is very like European, and it's just really fun. Fun girls' place. It's
Mm.
gonna drive me crazy that I can't think of the name. But if anyone listening, if you Google like French bistro, Plano, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
it'll come up. Oh, Edis. That's what it's called. Edis
Edis.
French
Okay.
bistro. Very fun. Definitely for the girls. Just like a fun, feel like you're on a vacation when you're still in Texas. So I like that
Okay.
place.
We're gonna check that out. We're gonna put that on that list whenever I'm in Plano. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So this question, just listen carefully. How many wins, or how many times in the 20th century did the Rangers actually win 100 games? Is it A, 3 times, B, 2 times, C, 0 times, or D, 1 time?
Like, is it how many? You said how many seasons?
How many times have they won 100 games in a season in the last
Zero?
20th century?
Is it
Exactly
zero?
0. Okay. It was
Yeah.
kind of a trick question. I was like, okay, like that's why
I
I was
thought
putting it. I
so, but
was
then I was
like,
like, I don't know if you're trying
yeah,
to trick
yeah.
the trick question.
No, I was just, that's why I was trying to tell you. I was like, wait a minute. If you really think about it, there
There's
are
no,
teams that have won 100, but I don't
yeah,
remember the Texas Rangers really winning 100, but we'll see.
not
All
us.
right.
No,
Maybe soon. I mean, they're on a hot streak, so we'll see.
definitely.
Um, all right, let's see. What former Texas Ranger signed a 10-year, $252 million contract in 2001?
That would be A-Rod, right?
Absolutely. Shout out Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod. All right, so this one, last question. Looks like you are going to take home the Crasher Coffee giveaway gift card. But what is the new Globe Life food option that's offered this year? That is, I think they call it like the 2 foot long dog loaded with like onions, jalapenos. I didn't even know the name of this until I
I was
looked it
gonna
up.
say,
It
I don't know if I know. I
sounds
know
pretty
there's been a
good.
lot of new stuff added, a lot of cool
Right.
stuff. I know there's one, a new item that has alligator. Um,
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I'm
yeah.
gonna try that next time I go. Yeah. This
I
one
have
I
not
didn't.
gotten a chance to try anything yet, but that one
Yeah.
I do not know the name of.
Okay.
Um,
Only reason I know this is because the last game I told you I went to, one of the
mhm.
guys that was sitting next to me had it, and I was like, "What is that?" He called it, I guess, the boomstick. They call it like the boomstick or
Sick.
something like that.
Yeah,
And I was
I
like,
thought that was
"Okay,
what they called the. Don't they have like a 6 foot long one?
yeah, that's the yeah." So I think it's like some type of
But there's one that is like the size of a baseball bat. I'm pretty sure that's the
yeah.
boomstick. But then they have a
Oh,
newer
that one?
one. I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure. I'm not. We'll have to look it
Okay.
up. But it
Okay.
may
It
be. They may have
it might
switched
be.
it. But there's a new one. But there
Okay.
are multiple stuff. If you haven't had that though, it's the long one. It's like the size of a baseball bat, and they literally give you like the carrier has like multiple handles, and you can see people in
Oh,
the
so
ballpark like carrying it with like two people, and it's
oh, that's
awesome.
cool. It's like one
So
of those old school Subway footlongs, or
yes,
the long 12 foot. Okay, that's
yeah,
cool. I'll have to
yeah.
check that out. I don't know if it would be something for me. I mean, I know my nephews love hot dogs, but I
Yeah,
don't know if
it's
I'm
kind
gonna
of
have
one of
all
those. It's
that.
just the experience, and just honestly to walk around
For
in the
sure.
ballpark like that, and everyone's looking at you. Like, it's one of those. Where else can you experience that? You know. So,
For sure. For sure. Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, you are the winner of the Crashers Coffee Giveaway gift card. We truly appreciate that. So, before I let you go, please let our listeners know where they can follow you on all social media platforms and anything that you're doing in terms of the next events, endeavors that you got going on for the rest of the summer and early fall.
Yeah, so my I'm really only on Instagram. That's my main social media, and
Mm-hmm.
it's Kayla.ray, RAE.blog. So that's on there. Me personally, I'm just focusing on baseball season. I'm hoping to start grad school in the fall. I'm also a Celsius ambassador, so I do a lot of stuff for Celsius Energy, kind of the main
Oh,
stuff.
awesome.
If they want to follow the six shooters, they can follow the team at Rangers underscore six shooters, and you spell it out SIX shooters. So that kind of is the main thing of like where we're going to be at. We post when we're at community events. We were just at the Rangers Youth Academy this weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
all the information about like auditions and stuff is on there as well. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. So before I let you go, one thing for our listeners, when the episode drops, I'm actually going to have McKayla's help. We are going to be doing a giveaway. This is a shout out to the Dugout Mugs. They actually sponsored the show, and we're going to be helping with one lucky big Texas Ranger fan get a baseball bat dugout mug. So look forward to that, and we'll let you know all the rules and everything like that. But thank you once again, McKayla. I really do appreciate it. And please keep us updated on the rest of the show. Rest of the season. And definitely looking forward to what's next for you. All right?
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoyed being on here.
You're welcome. Anytime. We'll be right back. Thank you to our listeners for holding. This is Eric Martinez. Once again, the Sporting Crashers Podcast, Episode 3. This man needs no introduction. First of all, thanks again for being on the show. The one and only Travelle Gaines. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I know you're a busy man, so I definitely had you as one of the people that I wanted on the show first and foremost. Everything that that you represent, that you've been through as far as success and everything like that. So much love, man. Much love.
Let's do it. Let's get into
it.
Yeah,
for sure. So, one thing I kind of pretty much wanted to get you on the show, just kind of laid back, just conversationalist. And, I'm from the Bay Area. I know you have a heavy influence in being from the Bay, and not only you probably have family there, just like I do. Just touch base on just everything that means. Because, I have a lot of friends that live in Philadelphia, and the first thing they always tell me is, well, I'm Philly strong, right? We're built different. We're tough-minded. And I say, you know what? I love that you guys have that mindset. In the Bay, it's a little, I always say it's a combination of all that. It's so much of the swagger that has been introduced from the beginning. So, I know you carry that all day with you.
I think, the funny part about people from the Bay Area, you instantly know they're from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Because of their demeanor, their mannerisms, the way they talk, the way they move, and the way they act. And it's funny. I had a argument with a very popular movie director.
Okay.
They were looking to do the Mac Dre story, and they wanted to cast Quavo as Mac Dre. And I said, it's not going to happen.
Ooh, no, man.
He said, what? He said, he kind of looks like Mac Dre. I said, nah.
Yeah.
You got to get somebody from the Bay to play Mac Dre. That's something you can't mess up. And so it's one of those things that, like, unless you're from there or have ties to there, you don't understand it. You can't mimic Bay Area people and their hustle and just who they are. And so, that's the best way I could describe it. If you have to understand it you have to be there to understand it. But right. I came from an era where I had a heavy influence from Mac Dre, the Romper Room Gang, and stuff like that. So it's just the mindset and the movements is just different, from being around those guys.
Man, you know what's crazy? Mac Dre, one of my favorite albums of all time. I still play it on my Apple podcast list and everything when I'm listening to it, is Mac Dre Rompilation, man. Rompilation. I don't know what about that. That's just back and forth, top to bottom. Just let it ride.
Great album, man. Mac Dre is a living legend to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just
absolutely.
He's somebody who he's one of the most influential people in my life. Still listen to his music. Still celebrate his birthday. Still celebrate his death. So he's God to me, man.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I love when it comes to people that know, especially coming from the Bay Area and just music and heavy influence. It's one of those things that when individuals make it, whatever type of industry, music, sports, movies, actors, I mean, there's been legends that come from there. When we tap into somebody that is and was a living legend like Mac Dre, it was just part of that culture. If people aren't from the Bay Area, they associate it with that word hyphy movement. But it was just that whole different thing, like that first line all the time, like in the Bay, we dance a little different. It's like that's a whole like mindset and lifestyle, Yeah.
No, I agree. Like I said, man, we could talk about Bay Area music and just the influence on the culture for hours. I think that the Bay Area invented so much slang that was then taken mainstream. I think that the Bay Area invented there's so much influence in Bay Area music from all the artists,
Right.
and I don't think they get the credit they deserve. But a lot of heavy influence on the music industry today is based off of Bay Area music.
Agreed. 100% agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. So I got some nephews that are, pretty much getting into sports. They're a little bit younger and then things like that. And then, when it comes to their interest in everything, any type of sport, whether they're watching it or we go to these sporting events. And the thing is, they always ask, they're always like, Theo, I really, I want to see what I can do. I want to play wide receiver for so and so, right? And I'm always thinking to myself, we just did a football camp with TCU football. Shout out the Horned Frogs, Sonny Dykes. So he was there, and we took our nephews to go and just interact with the youth camp. And one thing I told him, I said, the reason these summer camps are so important is because I want you to see, have fun, obviously, right? I want you to see the work ethic, right? The work ethic that these other kids have. So I kind of wanted you to just tap into the youth in terms of that particular side of it, discipline, dedication, and what you've seen. And also with you, man, you growing up, pretty much everything that you did as far as dedication,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing what kids have to understand these days is just however hard they think they're working, there's someone out there working harder. And
Right.
so one thing I will tell parents, I just had this conversation yesterday with my cousin. If your child is passionate about something, give them every resource you possibly can to
Mm-hmm.
help them excel in that. But don't push them towards something that you want them to do, but they don't want to do. So
Right.
if a kid is really passionate about a sport, please, please, please make sure they have every resource to be successful that is realistic, and then that they're just pushed because there's so many kids out there working so hard. A lot of times you might think you're the best player on your team, but then you're not the best player in your city or your state or the country. You're competing against kids
That's
throughout
right.
the country. And so
That's right.
I know what has really worked for us. I know, like, when you obviously pointing at like Kayvon Thibodeau, who just was drafted top 5
Yeah,
last week's
absolutely.
draft. Since he was in high school, he got a chance to watch Saquon Barkley and Todd Gurley and Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams and all these athletes train at our gym. So he understood what it took for him to get to that level. And so a
That's
lot
right.
of kids don't have that accessibility, but as long as they know they're doing everything they possibly can to be the best they could be, that's the biggest thing to do. Just make sure that they have to work hard. Nothing comes
That's
easy.
right.
You got to work, period. And you got to sacrifice.
You got to sacrifice. That's the word. Yeah. Sacrifice to the fullest. Real quick, not to change the subject, but how was that draft in Vegas, man? I mean, that was the thing. They were talking about that for years to bring the draft to Vegas. And then I'm just thinking to myself, what better city, right? What better city to have that sports entertainment?
We gonna keep it real right now, man. So
Yeah.
that was my 16th or 17th draft. I've been
Right.
since 2007. I've had
Right.
draft. For the first 8 or 9 years, they always were in New York. Draft was always in New York.
That's,
And
yeah,
then they
the
started
common place. Yep.
2016 or 17. They started changing it around so they were having it in
Mm-hmm.
different cities. So ever since it left New York, I think the first year was in Chicago. I went to that one, but after
Okay.
that, I haven't attended any of them. With that being said, the draft next year is, I think, in Kansas City, and after that's in Green Bay. I have
Right.
no desire to go to that.
Yeah.
Vegas, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Right.
Over 1 million people came into the city. There were billions of dollars poured into the city. I just thought that was the perfect place and venue to have the draft, and they should have it there every single year. I think that
Yeah.
I think it's neat what the NFL is trying to do by getting certain cities involved in the draft and getting certain cities involved in the Super Bowl. But the reality is this: it has to be a reward for the fans and the players. Once
Right.
you get to the draft or get to the Super Bowl, nobody wants to go to Green Bay. Nobody wants to go
That's
to
right.
Kansas City. So I think the draft every year should be in Vegas, LA, Atlanta, New Orleans, or
That's right.
Florida. Same thing for the Super Bowl. They should just pretty much be in a sunshine state because it's miserable when you have to travel to these cold weather cities and these cold weather places. You don't want to do anything. People lose a lot of money. Like I remember the Super Bowl a few years ago was in Minnesota. It was horrible. It's horrible.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and so, like, with that being said, I think the Vegas should be a staple for the draft and the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl, stuff like that every year because it was a really great setup. The NFL did a great job. The city of Vegas did a great job. It was first class. The fans were amazing. The crowd was amazing. It was a great experience.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. You know, the consensus was, hey, we should bring this back more than just 1 year. This will be multiple, or like you said, a staple of what New York City was, you know, as far as everything is concerned. Because, I mean, you think about it like this. Las Vegas hosts so many international travelers from all over the world. And you expose them to something that is built in our culture as far as being Americans, United States of America. You know, you talk about football, and then all of a sudden you start tapping into, well, we got a team, you know, born and raised when I'm from the Bay Area. That's my team, Oakland Raiders. You know, I still catch myself saying Oakland Raiders, but you know, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, Eric, you guys might be in some trouble right now, man. I think after what happened last week, man, Mark Davis might have to sell the team.
That's so yeah. So I didn't read the whole thing, but I think there was something with some type of mismanagement, some type of, you know, just not handling it the right way.
Not looking good.
Yeah.
Not looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be truthful, man, you know, as far as rest in peace, Al Davis and everything like that, but ever since he's been pretty much at, you know, running the show, as so to say, it's been one of those things that the decision's got to be a lot more tight. You know, he wants to bring in individuals that are football minded, understandable, but in terms of just the mindset of, you know, becoming a successful owner, oh man, it's just and then you know, I can bring up the John Gruden situation, right? You know, we can go and say all these things, and you know, could not be that maybe he wasn't the one that was directly tied to the root, but here's the problem: it's still within the organization, right? And I agree with you. I like everybody's telling me they're like, oh, watch out, you know, we got Devontae Adams and this and that, and I'm like, hey, absolutely, one of the greatest transactions in a long time for a Raider fan base. But I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on. You know, let's look at the division. Let's look at as far as what's on paper. We haven't seen him take one snap yet.
That's true.
You know, so I honestly believe, like when I'm talking about football in terms of what we're going to put out as far as the product is concerned on the field, man, you're absolutely right. Everything that we have to really think and focus on is what starts at the top, right? We always hear when they give the Lombardi Trophy, right? Who's grabbing it? The owners, general managers, and then it goes down head coaches, you know, Super Bowl MVPs. But if that's not tight at the top, how are we gonna get there?
You're correct. You're correct. I'll tell you what. I think the Raiders are. There's been a lot of missteps with the past few years. I wouldn't be shocked if the NFL now, when you have the president of your organization coming out and saying there were these infractions, I brought them to the owner's attention, and his response was to fire me. That's a very slippery slope, and he's now saying that now to the league office. I'll tell you what, if the Raiders go for sale, I personally think with being in Las Vegas and with the fan base, if the Broncos are going to go for $4 billion, the Raiders would go for $5 billion. And I know people personally who would pay for that right now.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy you say that. We always talk, and you always hear when it comes to free agencies and trades, and everybody's always like, well, sports and the league, it's a business, right? We're always like, oh, it's a business. And I always thinking to myself, well, just because it's a business, shouldn't there be a lot more integrity? Shouldn't there be a lot more core values and ethics, you know? And again, that's just me on my side looking at it. But like you being involved, that you talk directly to a lot of these that are, you know, a part of whether it's the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, you know, things like that. I always find it where I'm always like, I wonder if these conversations are ever said. Obviously, probably not broadcasted. You're not going to see this on the major sports platforms. But, you know, something like this, man, I'm always wondering to myself.
Eric, let me tell you something. Big business, Fortune 500 companies, sports team owners, it's Game of Thrones, man. It's Game of Thrones.
Right.
So it's very cutthroat. It's a very when you peel back the curtain and see how certain companies were built, made, or how they got to this point is Game of Thrones. And so when you start
Right.
talking about that kind of money, you have all kind of people, friendships go out the window. And it's that saying, it's business, it's not personal. You learn that more and more the higher you get up in some of these corporate structures, some of these big money deals. And so it's like it's very interesting. But again, I'm sure there's all kind of stuff going on right now behind the scenes with this Raider situation, which like every NFL team will be a hot commodity if that does come up for sale. Who
Right.
knows? I know that obviously the Broncos sale is going on right now. Let's see who shakes out of that. But I'm personally trying to buy the Saints. That's
Okay.
I
All
want
right.
the
Yeah.
Saints.
Yeah.
Gail Benson does. I don't know what she has going on. She claims she wants to sell it, but I don't think she really wants to sell it.
I got a soft spot for the Saints, man. I'm just obviously born and raised in the Bay Area. My college football team is Cal Berkeley,
Mm-hmm.
100%. UC Berkeley, go Golden Bears. And so anytime I hear Saints, I'm always Cam Jordan. So I always follow.
Nothing. Cam Jordan
Yeah, I
Trainer,
always.
a very interesting guy. He's a
Yeah,
big personality.
yeah, yeah.
Big
I
personality.
bet. That's good, man. I always try to follow these Golden Bears in the pros, man, because sometimes I celebrate every time I'm watching. Like when I was watching the draft and I seen Elijah Hicks get drafted,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm
Yeah.
out here like acting like, hey, we got one in the league.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good
I think
thing.
one of the I think it's arguable between maybe Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn. But I think Marshawn was the
Hmm.
greatest Cal Bear ever. I had
Woo.
the blessing to train Marshawn and be around him a lot during his career. Um, Very savvy businessman, 100% authentic.
I
And then
love
when
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Marshawn Lynch, man, he's an awesome guy. He actually lives in Vegas, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. He lives in Vegas and
Okay.
Hawaii. So
I heard we several years back when I was in the Bay Area, we did a Beast Mode sponsored hashtag
mhm.
lunch bags. So we went around Oakland and San Francisco and we handed out lunch bags for homeless, individuals. So we put together the whole campaign with Beast Mode and everybody, and he had like you said, huge personality,
Mhm.
but just authentic and real and heart of gold, man. I mean, he was sitting here literally packing the lunches with us, packing the fruits and everything and just conversating. Doesn't matter if it was just, you didn't know one thing about sports or you knew every statistic that he ever had in his career. Just
Yeah.
a real person.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. I remember after his first or second year in the NFL, he was a top 10 pick, had a bunch of marketing deals, had a ton of money, and he was here
Sure.
training with me. And I remember him staying on like one of his cousins' like couch. I think he was like
Yeah.
he was just a normal guy. I remember one time he went and bought a soda from a store, and like two doors down there was another store, and the soda was 20 cents cheaper. He took the
Okay.
soda back to the original store and went and got the soda 20 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Marshawn, man. He's just a
Yeah.
old dude. You know what I mean?
That's that mindset. That's that mindset you got to have. I mean, that's that part of that hustler mentality, but like that's where it gets you far. That's where it starts from, and that's
Absolutely.
where the business comes from. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I got a question.
Yeah, I want.
Well,
Yeah,
I got a
good.
question for you. I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to go the other way around. Is that a Kobe hat?
Yeah, so shout out to Jerry Dupree, Book Clothing Co. This is the official Los Kobe's and a dedication. So on the side it says the biggest mistake we have in life is we think we have time. So it's a book clothing.
Now that's
So
that's fire. But I have a question for you. Are you a Kobe
yes,
fan?
sir. I'm a Kobe and a Laker fan. Absolutely.
Okay. Now here's my next
Okay.
question for you. Where do you rank Kobe at in your all-time greatest players list?
All right. So I have conversations with this almost every single week with different my different friends.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my thing. It's very hard in my generation now. Again, I still remember watching Sports Channel in the Bay Area when we would catch those Golden State Warriors against those Michael Jordan led Chicago Bulls, right? But at the same time, I was still watching those Eldon Campbell, Nick Van Exel, led by Del Harris type of Lakers. So my generation was Lakers were just getting out of that Showtime, and we were still in the presence of greatness with Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say three. I always put three, and then the other two it can fit into conversation. But Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Now, but here's my thing though. I'm such a big Kobe Bryant fan. It's very hard for me to hear any type of conversation that has Michael and LeBron. I understand why people call LeBron the GOAT. There's a lot of factors that he's had ever since he came into the league. I mean, dominant right away. But I also always go back to that whole mentality, that Mamba mentality, before it became famous and before everybody put it in a trend. There's a lot that he learned that first year, pretty much watching and incorporating himself into becoming that dominant eventually when it was his time. And I mean, how many players are ever going to go from a Froby 8 to a dominant older vet to win 24, right? win with 24. So in my countdown, it's hard for me to put LeBron over Michael Jordan. I just believe Michael is and was such a dominant player because of the fact that he did it defensively and offensively. I mean, that's a lot of the copycat. I don't want to say exactly, right? It's not a carbon copy, but of what Kobe did. But man, it's hard because I respect what LeBron has done. I'm never gonna slander him for taking the opportunity of winning rings. Isn't that what we play sports for, right?
Right.
Win rings. But I always say all time favorite Kobe Bryant, history of the league. That's just me. Best player. I couldn't put him underneath. I say one Michael, 2A LeBron, 2B Kobe. It's just it's hard because as a lot of my friends always say, man, I just like we were expecting you to say Kobe over LeBron, and I'm like, well, I would always say that until I really realized that what LeBron is doing from a standpoint of how long he's been doing it, how dominant he's been. And he's a completely different player. I mean, I've never seen somebody at that physical specimen be so creative with the ball. It's like it's a combination of what we used to see with Magic Johnson, what we see with so many. So, oh man, that's that conversation. I could keep going and going, man. But how about you? How do you see it?
I have a tough time with putting Kobe Bryant in my top 10.
Oh, okay, here we go, getting real.
Really tough time.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
at the age also where I watched Magic,
Yeah.
Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. I'm at that age.
Sure.
So for me, number one is Michael Jordan.
I agree.
Number two is Magic Johnson. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
He played 10 years, played in 8 championships.
Sure.
He created Showtime. He was an unbelievable player. There would be no Showtime, no Lakers if it wasn't for Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
My third best player is LeBron James. Fourth best, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Fifth,
Yeah, Kareem.
Shaquille O'Neal. Sixth is Larry Bird. 7 is Kevin Durant. 8,
Okay.
Hakeem Olajuwon. 9, 9 is Steph Curry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's waiting for Curry.
And 10 for me is Tim Duncan. So
Yes.
I personally feel that Kobe Bryant played in the league for 20 years, but really for the most part, over half of those years, he was not. I mean, he was a good player, but his team was not very good. And so,
I
with
agree.
the exception of the years that Shaq was there, and the exception of the years that Pau Gasol was there, Kobe Bryant wasn't really effective, in my opinion. If you want to break it down to it, I mean, there was a lot of guys that can score. Allen Iverson could score. Um, I mean, Michael Redd could score. You go on and on guys who could score but never could win. In my opinion, I think Kobe Bryant is equivalent to like a Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker's a great player, and he's one of my favorite players currently in the league. But I think in 20 years, kids aren't going to really know who he was. And so I think what elevated Kobe Bryant was playing for the Lakers and then Nike. I think Nike with his shoes really elevated
Branding.
Kobe Bryant. Just like with Michael Jordan. Like there's people now, there's trainers that work at Athletic Gaines that are in their early and mid 20s. They've never seen Michael Jordan play. They just know him from YouTube and his shoes. And so, like, I think that
Yeah.
Kobe's brand has made him more legendary than I thought he was as a player. I thought when he first came in the league, he was terrible. He was on the bench his first few years. I remember that playoff game. He came in and airballed 3 threes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think that Kobe Bryant's a good player, but there are so many great Lakers because they're, with 17 championships and one of the most, them and the Celtics are the best franchise. So, I mean, you got guys like Jerry West, you guys got,
Yes.
Shaq, you got Kareem, you have Magic, you got James Worthy, you have so many great Lakers. I just think, and then also, when someone passes away, they become elevated. They just become elevated. Like, for
I
example,
agree.
And this bothers me, most rappers sell more records after they die.
That's exactly right.
Hustle didn't go platinum until he died. You know what I
Passed
mean?
away, yes.
And so
That's
it's
right.
one of those things that, like, now with Kobe dying at a very young age, his aura and who he was got elevated. So I think people are still living in that moment. But I respect Kobe Bryant, but I just have a tough time with fundamentally because when I look at all the players I named, I feel if you put them on any team, they will be a major impact and they can help carry that team to a championship. I saw when Kobe Bryant, he got what he wanted. When he wanted to be separated from Shaquille O'Neal, he went to Dr. Buss. He got what he wanted. We saw what happened. The Lakers were horrible. They were horrible. Shaq went on and won in Miami with Dwayne Wade. And so that's how I look at it. Again, no disrespect to Kobe. I just have
No, absolutely not.
In my top 10. That's just me personally.
I mean, everybody that you named on the top 10 list, Hall of Famers and legendary players. So I get it, And again, it's where my generation when I started, it was when I was born, it was a little bit more of in the middle of the Showtime, Magic Johnson kind of winding down, his career. But at the same time, I always say, and I continue to say this, when it comes to the possibility of extending more than the back-to-back-to-back that Kobe and Shaq had, it had to be the right fit, right? They in my opinion, I agree with you that we all saw, and I'm not ashamed to say this, obviously, we all saw that in that particular situation, Kobe needed Shaq. I mean, let's be honest, right? And again, there was players that were fit around him that made that team, and that's why whenever we talk about that Laker team, that three-peat, I always say, well, Rick Fox, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher, right? And the list goes on and on and on because they understood that what's happening in the organization, what's happening from a standpoint of the strategy, it has to come with it. Let me ask you this. A few guys that I that's why I was telling you when it comes to top 5, top 10, I always have, we always have this conversation. When it comes to, for instance, you said Tim Duncan, the big fundamental, did everything right. In fact, did everything the way it had to play at that position. I remember at a time, I remember this because this was always fantasy basketball back then. I used to be really big into it. There was always a conversation. 3 power forwards always off of my top board. Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I remember that.
Yeah.
So where do you got? I'm not saying you got to tell them all time, but where do you got those two other ones? Because KG Big Ticket was whoo,
Amazing.
that engine was running.
Amazing player, great energy. I think he deserves a statue for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I like that. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Single-handedly in 2011 beat the Miami Heat. And then
Yes.
the coldest thing ever, he took the championship trophy to live in Miami and celebrate it. But I think,
Yeah.
again, I think when you look at people who I think single-handedly carried a organization, you start talking about guys like
Right.
that. You start talking about moments like that. I just can't find a moment like that. Yeah, Kobe scored 81 in the game. Yeah, he has some big shots and some big plays, but without the time of having a Shaquille O'Neal or having a Paul Gasol,
Sure.
I just never seen Kobe Bryant elevate to a Allen Iverson status, a Dirk Nowitzki status, or some LeBron James status. I watched LeBron James when he was in Cleveland literally take four other guys who worked at Kroger's in the offseason and will them to play in the championship. I just never saw Kobe do anything like that. That's just me.
Okay. Hey, respect. Listen.
Fire though.
I got you. I got you 100%. I listen. Completely respect that. I got a question then. Let's kind of keep it within the basketball realm, but I want to switch over and give a lot of love to the WNBA.
Yeah.
Your opinion.
Yeah.
Your greatest women's basketball player, and it could be college, pro. Because I got a few, but I want to hear, in your opinion, who you have. You ain't got to do a top 5, but who do you like?
Unbelievably biased because she's trained with us the last 6 years, and I think it's Candace Parker. The reason why I think it's Candace Parker, because it's like what you said in the eras. I think the WNBA, there's been a lot of great players with Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper. I want to call her. I feel so bad. Cheryl Miller. There's been a lot of great players, but at the time, with a lot of focus and a lot of brands going towards female sports, a lot of people investing more in female sports, what Candace Parker has done over her 16-year career, winning a championship, winning multiple championships, winning Rookie of the Year, winning MVPs, winning Defensive Player of the Year, winning scoring titles, and now she's able to elevate the sport by having her platform on TNT and Bleacher Report, starting her own production company, being one of the highest paid female athletes, being a mom while having 3 jobs. I think she scored in season opener, she scored 21 points. I personally think Candace Parker has done the most for the sport, and I think she will continue to be an ambassador for women's sports. And I think that she is the blueprint to copy. So for example, I think the current blueprint to copy on and off the court is LeBron James. He's going to be the first billionaire basketball player while he's currently playing. I think the blueprint for women should be Candace Parker. I think Candace Parker should be the logo of the WNBA, and I think she's the greatest WNBA player ever.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy every single time she is breaking down film, analyzing players, the certain habits that they have on the court, what to look for defensively. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, it's perfect. It's exactly what we need in any type of platform, whether it's, television, internet, Bleacher Report, like you said. And I always find it that, growing up when the NBA was the WNBA was first coming out, it was those franchises that it was kind of like the MLS, the soccer. Every organization had that one player, but they didn't have that collective team. And it seems like everything that she's been a part of has been a chance to really unify and strengthen her, not only as a teammate, but also a leader. So I agree with you. I agree 100%.
Well, Eric, the other thing that she did was like what LeBron did. I mean, LeBron went back to Cleveland and brought them a championship. And Candace went back to Chicago and brought them a championship. You're back. I mean, that's the stuff that Disney movies are made of. And Kobe didn't go to Philly and bring the Sixers a championship. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
harp on your boy Kobe. But I'm just saying, like, for you to go back to your hometown after being away and guaranteeing them and bringing them their first championship, that's stuff that's what movies are made of. And I think that she's going to have her own Disney movie when she decides to hang it up. There's talk this might be her last year. So I think it would be unfortunate.
That's what I was hearing.
But I think she always will be a larger than life presence in the WNBA. I do think that she has the ability to be the first female general manager in the NBA. I think she can help out front office. I
can see that happening.
Dynamic, and she has that kind of presence. And so I think that her personality and who she is to basketball transcends from men's and women's sports. I think she's that respected. And I think that she is, again, unfortunately, a lot of the other great women played in just a different era. But with the attention right now going on women's sports and women's basketball, I think Candace Parker has done so much for the game of basketball.
I agreed 100%. I love it. So like I told you, I had moved out here from the Bay Area, and I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, the suburb. So I got a chance to meet Dr. Kenneth Cooper, the father of aerobics. And I attended one of his seminars and just kind of listening to everything he had to say with, keeping a healthy lifestyle. And his main obviously motto was, fitness is not a destination. Fitness is a journey. We must continue to strive towards those goals. So, you being, keeping others when it comes to the fitness, the healthy lifestyle, things like that. What's one thing that's the most important to you, man? I know there's probably a lot of them, but when it comes to just, because we talk about not just the exercise, the dietitian, being on a diet or keeping a healthy, intake of food, but also what we see in sports right now with the mindset, right? The stress, the mental health issues that we get sometimes. So what would you say on that end?
I think the biggest thing that I tell everybody is the most successful people in the world get up early and they work out early. So what I would tell everybody always says they don't have enough time in their day to work out. Extend your day an extra hour in the morning. Wake up, make the commitment to yourself to wake up early, get your workout in, which gets your mind flowing, it gets your endorphins going, it gets your body moving. And so what I would say to everybody, I think that if you can wake up early, knock out your workout, it not only gets your day going, but also it helps reduce stress. It helps reduce a lot of other things. So that's what I would recommend to people, just the habits. And
sure.
Again, that's not an athlete thing. It's a successful people have the same mindset, whether it's LeBron James or whether it's Mark Zuckerberg. They all have the same type of, they want to win, they want to be successful mentality. So I think that if people can look at ways to help increase their lifestyle, their energy, and reduce stress and help with their mental health, I think getting up early, getting your workout in is really something that they can do to really combat a lot of those issues that can come up.
Yeah, that's well said. Absolutely. Well, before I let you go, man, and like I said, I appreciate your time. I definitely want to make sure that I send a huge congratulations to everything that you've achieved and all of your trainers, everything that you've done to build the Athletic Gains brand. Man, it's like I said, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And also, more importantly, man, I always love hearing the stories of individuals that, from my backyard, from the Bay, using the platform to succeed, but also touching lives, man. It's the most important thing to me. It's not a matter of what you do. It's how you affect the people that are around you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. I think that, I'm not trying to be religious on you, but I think you're judged by God by what you do for others, not what you do for yourself. So being able to be a part of a company in an industry that helps other people achieve their goals and to feel better about themselves, something that I'm blessed and honored to do, and something that I will continue to hopefully do for the rest of my life.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate it again. Thanks for joining the show. We're going to keep tabs on you, man. I know I'm going to have you on a different show later on this year, but
Do it.
Yeah, make sure that everybody check out Athletic Gaines, Travelle Gaines. Appreciate you for being a crasher on episode 3, man. Take care. God bless.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
You too. Thanks. We'll be right back, listeners. Hey, in all seriousness, thank you so much for supporting our show. I mean, honestly, I can't thank everybody enough that keeps asking me, hey, Eric, when are you going to put out a new episode? Hey, when are you going to put out a new Sporting Crashers podcast episode, video, audio? So I got a lot of people asking me, and I really do appreciate that. So everybody that is tapped in since episode 1, the concept of it, those that want to be on the show for future guests, hey, we're more than welcome to, right? So you got a team that you support, you're a fanatic, or you're a regular fan, or you just basically like the sport and you don't necessarily have a team, I mean, definitely want to talk a little bit more. So the Sporting Crashers will always be something that's fun, something that's more specific to how it relates to sports and life. We can get into the data analysis of the games because I break down games all the time. But in this particular episode and coming forward, we're going to have a lot of guests that continue to do that, set the tone, and really are contributing something in this world, not just for sports. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you for listening to the show. Episode 3 is now complete. Look out for episode 4. We're already in the concept and we're already putting it together. Thank you so much to everybody. Appreciate everybody listening to the Sporting Crashers podcast, episode 3. Take care. Catch you on the next one.